Chapter 975. The four of them left together. Along the way, Wu Yu pointed out the location of the transportation formation for Zi-Chen before returning to the Wu family. Zi-Chen's group of three found a transportation formation to return to the Bedlam region. Their current location was at the very edge of the eastern region. The closest power to this place was the Wu family. Of course, the Martial Heaven Alliance was a power that covered all the regions. On the way, Binga was very excited. She was very curious about the Bedlam region Zi-Chen had told her about. The three of them entered two transportation formations along the way. These were the eastern region's transportation formations, and they didn't have any power guarding them. As long as one placed a high-grade yuan stone on them, they would activate automatically. After two transportation formations, as well as one long-distance transportation, the three of them arrived at a city. This was Grand Desert City. It was located in the middle of a desert, but it was very flourishing. The people living here were all cultivators. There was not a single mortal. The dangerous desert posed no threat to them. What Zi-Chen's group of three needed to do was use the transportation formation here to reach the center of the eastern region, Soaring Dragon City. That was because only Soaring Dragon City had a transportation formation that could cross continents. Zi-Chen and the Devil Ape were fine, but Binga was unable to bear it. She was much more haggard, and her mental state was extremely poor. The three of them stayed in Grand Desert City for 3 days before entering the transportation formation to reach Soaring Dragon City. Soaring Dragon City was very large. There was a main city here that spanned over 100,000 miles. Other than that, there were 5 branch cities that protected the main city. Each of them was larger than Soaring Dragon City. This was one of the most flourishing cities in the eastern region. Core essence could be seen everywhere on the streets. Even mortal yuan experts could be seen. Zi-Chen's group of 3 appeared in one of the 5 branch cities, Liflame City. To leave this place, they had to go to the main city. The transportation formations to the other continents were all in the main city, and there were experts guarding them. It really is worthy of being one of the most flourishing cities in the eastern region. Just the branch cities have so many powerful cultivators, sighed the Devil Ape. The Devil Ape's aura was completely restrained. It looked just like an ape-type sea demon. Within the same realm, no one would be able to sense its aura as a foreign race. It's so lively here. Zi-Chen, can we stay here for a few more days? Seeing the bustling city, Binga was pleasantly surprised. Zi-Chen nodded. Sure. You can stay here as long as you want. That's great, Zi-Chen, thank you. Binga was extremely happy, and she kissed Zi-Chen on the cheek in front of everyone. Recently, Binga had often done this bold thing. It seemed that she had learned it from Wu Mai. This gave Zi-Chen a headache and embarrassment, but he couldn't stop her. It was very contradictory. Find a place to stay first, Zi-Chen said. He wasn't in a hurry to go back now, because Wu Yu had given him information about the Earth Yuan stage expert of the Wu clan. It was said that the Earth Yuan stage expert of the Wu clan had received an urgent order and left one day. As for the eastern region, the only ones qualified to summon Earth origin experts were the Martial Heaven Alliance's Hua family. Zi-Chen guessed that this was because of the Lightning Divine Hall. The Lightning Divine Hall was in this region, and Long Chen was known as the strongest expert of the mortal stage. He was an unrivaled existence, and his combat power was only second to the Earth Yuan stage. So he was very curious just what was inside the Lightning Divine Hall. That kind of divine might that day gave Zi-Chen a huge impact. Because of the Lightning Divine Hall's appearance, as well as the fact that the other large powers were guessing that he was dead, there shouldn't be too many people going to the Bedlam lands to look for trouble. After having a meal in a luxurious restaurant, Zi-Chen returned with the Devil Ape. Although the two of them had broken through to the mortal stage, they still needed to stabilize and familiarize themselves with this realm. That was especially true for Zi-Chen. After breaking through, he hadn't properly sensed the power of the mortal stage. In Soaring Dragon City, where the Hua family resided, there were already 8 Earth Yuan experts gathered. These 8 people belonged to 8 different powers. Other than the Hua family, the others were from other families, such as the Wu family. Although these families couldn't compare to the 5 elements aristocratic families, they had Earth Yuan experts. That in itself was a foundation. Earth Yuan experts had already transcended the concept of being human. Their lifespan was practically endless. As long as they didn't die midway, an Earth Yuan expert was completely capable of making a family rise up and become a large power. This kind of power could be ranked among the top powers in the Sky Martial continent. Is there still no movement from the Lightning Divine Hall after the commotion last time? An Earth Yuan expert asked. He was precisely an expert from the Wu family. Another person shook his head and said, "No. These days, we have already searched all the possible places where the Lightning Divine Hall might appear. However, we didn't find anything. The traces of the Lightning Divine Hall's appearance have also slowly disappeared." The expert from the Hua family was sitting at the head of the table. His brows were constantly knitted. Although the 5 elements aristocratic families were one family, in front of the opportunity to become a god, this family's relationship was already unstable. Therefore, this time, he found other Earth Yuan experts and didn't look for the other 4 families. However, this kind of situation was like paper and fire. It was unrealistic to completely cover it up. Furthermore, he was already suspecting whether the other 4 families had already received the news. This time, the appearance of the Lightning Divine Hall in the eastern region was an opportunity for the Hua family. Whether they could successfully enter the Lightning Divine Hall and become a god would depend on whether they could grab this opportunity. In the past, they had missed it time and time again because they weren't prepared. However, this time was different. They had already accumulated enough strength and were quietly waiting for the arrival of the Lightning Divine Hall. Continue searching. We must definitely find it. The expert from the Hua family who was sitting at the head of the table spoke. However, before he could even finish his words, his expression changed. A bizarre fluctuation was transmitted to the soaring dragon city and the hall they were in. The complexions of several Earth Yuan experts also changed. Without even thinking, they cried out in alarm, "Lightning Divine Hall. The Lightning Divine Hall has appeared. It's right outside. Let's quickly go and take a look." Along with the words, several experts of Earth Origin realm flashed and flew outside. Their speed was very fast. Their entire body was just like a stream of light. In Soaring Dragon City, only very few cultivators were able to see a vague figure floating in the air. The appearance of the Lightning Divine Hall was in the vicinity of the Soaring Dragon City. The fluctuation clearly transmitted to the city. This was a bizarre fluctuation that contained the power of laws. In the city, the majority of the cultivators coughed out blood after sensing this fluctuation. There were even some who directly fainted due to this fluctuation. Zi Chen, who was sitting cross-legged and comprehending the power of mortal Yuan, instantly opened his eyes. His eyes flickered with radiance. Lightning Divine Hall, this is the aura of the Lightning Divine Hall. At the side, the devil ape cried out in a low voice. "Not good, Bing-er." Zi Chen cried out once again. Bing-er had already left. She, who was only at the true element realm, might be in danger if she encountered this fluctuation. He turned into a beam of light and flew outside. As soon as he reached the outside world, he sensed several powerful auras flying past in the air. Earth Yuan realm. Zi Chen's pupils suddenly shrunk. He didn't expect that an Earth Yuan expert would appear so quickly. Looking at the direction the other party was heading, it should be the place where the aura of the Lightning Divine Hall came from. Zi Chen saw Bing-er at the side of the road. The latter's complexion was pale and there were traces of blood at the corner of her mouth. However, she didn't faint. Zi Chen. After seeing Zi Chen, Bing-er cried out in a low voice. Then, she threw herself into Zi Chen's embrace. Beside her, there were quite a few people who had fainted. The little white fox's spirit had also become dispirited. "It's all right, I'm here." While Zi Chen was comforting Bing-er, he also raised his hand and sent a surge of energy to check Bing-er's body. Bing-er wasn't injured and everything was fine. Zi Chen supported Bing-er and took a step back. Looking at Bing-er, he said, "Bing-er, wait for me here. I'll be right back." Bing-er's eyes were still filled with fear, but she still nodded her head. The matter of the Lightning Divine Hall was of great importance. Furthermore, Bing-Er wouldn't be in danger in the city. After Zi Chen released Bing-Er, he flew out of the city. The monster ape had already left, following the group of Earth Origin stage cultivators. The place where the Lightning Divine Hall appeared was 100 miles away from Flaming City. The main hall flickered with lightning and emitted a dangerous aura. Below the Lightning Divine Hall, there was still the power of laws surging. This scene was the same as when it first appeared. A few Earth Yuan experts flew over, and after seeing the Lightning Divine Hall, they increased their speed, wanting to rush up. Boom! The Lightning Divine Hall suddenly began to shake. Then, thick bolts of lightning surged out from within. These bolts of lightning were like lightning dragons, ferocious and mighty as they rushed towards the 8 people. The lightning contained an extremely terrifying power. When Zi Chen and the Devil Ape arrived, they just happened to see the lightning explode and the Earth Yuan experts fly out. Their expressions became extremely shocked. They didn't expect the lightning to be so terrifying. The lightning shattered the void, and a terrifying aura wreaked havoc. Zi Chen and the Devil Ape didn't dare to approach, and could only watch from afar. Behind the two, there were still rays of light surging. It was the other Origin Realm experts who had arrived. When they saw the Lightning Divine Hall from afar, they were extremely shocked. Just at this moment, the Lightning Divine Hall shook once again, and another 8 lightning dragons rushed out. These 8 lightning dragons were even more terrifying than the previous ones. After they appeared, they rushed towards the 8 people. Retreat! The 8 people's expressions changed as they immediately retreated. However, the lightning dragons chased after them relentlessly. Under the crowd of cultivators' dumbfounded expressions, they saw the 8 Earth Yuan experts being chased by the 8 lightning dragons. With one running and one chasing, they quickly disappeared without a trace. The group of Origin Realm cultivators looked at each other. Even an Earth Origin Realm cultivator had run away, let alone them. While they were fearful of the Lightning Divine Hall, they were also extremely curious. Just what was this thing filled with lightning in front of them? Very quickly, some people's expressions changed. Obviously, they had guessed what was within the lightning. This Lightning Divine Hall is indeed terrifying. To think that it could even chase away Earth Yuan experts. Zi Chen's mind was naturally greatly shaken. When the Lightning Divine Hall appeared, just like before, it didn't continue to stay. Then, it broke through space and entered the pitch-black spatial crack. Just as the Lightning Divine Hall disappeared, a terrifying aura once again appeared between heaven and earth. An extremely powerful existence had descended. This powerful aura far surpassed the Earth Yuan experts from before. When it appeared, all the human Yuan experts actually had the urge to prostrate themselves in worship. Chapter 976. The figure of light stood in the air with its back facing the crowd. Its deep eyes seemed to pierce through space and landed on the Lightning Divine Hall that had disappeared. The 8 Earth Yuan stage experts that had fled earlier had all returned. Although their clothes were in a sorry state, their lives were not in danger. They then respectfully bowed towards the figure of light. The mortal Yuan stage experts that had rushed over were greatly shocked by this scene. The 8 of them had already revealed their Earth Yuan stage strength. This kind of expert was already a peak existence in the Sky Martial continent. As long as one of them appeared, they would be able to establish a huge power in the Sky Martial continent. However, at this moment, these experts were bowing towards the figure of light with a humble attitude. Clearly, the other party was an even stronger existence. Everyone guessed that this person's cultivation was either at the peak of the Earth Yuan stage or the rarely seen Heavenly Yuan stage. Zi Chen looked towards the sky, his mind completely stunned. In that instant, he felt as if his mind was completely blank. The appearance of the Lightning Divine Hall had sent the Earth Yuan stage experts running with just 2 strikes. However, he did not expect that a Heavenly Yuan stage expert would appear so quickly. Originally, Zi Chen was still secretly delighted that he was the #1 mortal Yuan stage expert. However, at this moment, seeing the 9 people in the sky, Zi Chen knew how insignificant he was. Wanting to obtain something from the Lightning Divine Hall was undoubtedly a fool's dream. The appearance of the lightning divine hall and these experts made Chen recognize reality. He no longer had any extravagant hopes. In mid-air, the glowing figure pointed out a finger, causing the space to explode with a loud bang as a gigantic black hole appeared. The instant the black hole appeared, the glowing figure entered it in a flash. The 8 earthly Yuan stage practitioners paused for a moment before following closely behind. After the experts left, discussions could be heard from the surroundings. Lightning Divine Hall, it must be the Lightning Divine Hall. Rumor has it that the Lightning Divine Hall only appears once every 10,000 years. I never expected to see it here. It's as vast as the might of the heavens. Rumor has it that the Lightning Divine Hall has the secret to becoming a god. It might be true. Chen and the devil ape looked at each other, then turned around and returned to the city. In Lifia City, the panicked crowd slowly calmed down. However, very quickly, the news regarding the appearance of the Lightning Divine Hall began to spread throughout the city. First, it was Lifia City, then Blazing Fire City. Not long after, the news had spread throughout the entire Soaring Dragon City. It could be foreseen that in the near future, news regarding the Lightning Divine Hall would spread throughout the entire Martial Sky continent. At that time, many experts would gather in this area. Seeing Bing-Er again, her expression had returned to normal, but there was still some fear in her eyes. Seeing Chen, she asked, "What happened?" Chen smiled and said, "It's nothing. You don't have to worry. Do you still want to go shopping?" Bing-Er shook her head and said, "No, I'm tired. I want to sleep." "Then let's go back to the inn." The 3 of them stayed in Lifia City. A few days later, the news of the Lightning Divine Hall had completely spread. After that, numerous experts descended upon this place. Originally, they could see human origin stage cultivators on the streets, but now there were even more of them. Sometimes, they could even sense the aura of Earth origin stage cultivators. The Earth origin stage was already beyond the level of a normal human. Both its strength and senses were far beyond that of a normal human being. Chen had been familiarizing himself with the power of the human origin stage during this period of time, so he didn't go out. The demon ape also rarely went out. As for Bing-Er and little Baihu, they were wandering around. On the 7th day of Chen's stay in the city, the number of experts in the city had increased. Chen no longer had any extravagant hopes of obtaining anything from the Lightning Divine Hall. There was no longer any meaning in staying here, so it was time to leave. The 3 of them directly headed for Soaring Dragon City. Soaring Dragon City was under the control of the Hua family. After arriving, Chen retracted his aura and changed his appearance. The demon ape's aura and appearance had also changed. The teleportation array of Soaring Dragon City was guarded by experts. However, they didn't make things difficult for Chen's group. After paying a sufficient amount of Yuan stones, the 3 of them smoothly stepped into the teleportation array and headed straight for the southern region. The 3 of them arrived at the southern region. During this period of time, they used several days to find the teleportation array to return to the Bedlam lands. 10 days later, they arrived at the Great Desolate Land. The Great Desolate Land belonged to the demon race. There were very few human cultivators, and even if there were, they were equivalent to slaves. In the Great Desolate Land, humans were food for the demon race. Along the way, the 3 of them saw many tragic scenes. These demon race are too cruel. Bing-Er couldn't bear it. The Great Desolate Land is not small. Are we going to just cross it? The demon ape asked. Chen said, "No need. There must be a teleportation array to the Bedlam lands in the Great Desolate Land. But how are we going to find it?" Chen said with a smile, "We can't find it, but the demon race can." "You mean to go to the demon city?" Along the way, they would also punish the demon race. In the demon race's threats, they had mentioned the demon city. "Humans, there are humans here. There's also a human woman. Capture her." The 3 of them had just flown for dozens of miles when they encountered the demon race. It was a small team of 8 demon race members. When they saw Chen's group, their eyes lit up and they flew towards them. "Kill the men, leave the women alive." The 8 of them flew over with extreme speed. Among the 8 of them, Only one was at the core realm. The demon ape didn't need to attack. Just the powerful aura released by the demon race member was enough to shock the team. Lord, please spare us. The 8 demon race members kowtowed to the demon ape. Tell me, where is the demon city? The demon ape asked coldly. Demon city. The core realm demon race member was stunned. Why, you don't know? I know. The demon race member quickly nodded and pointed to the direction of the demon city. It's not far from here. Scram. The demon ape said coldly. Yes. Thank you, Lord. The 8 demon race members quickly nodded and flew away. However, they were confused. They didn't understand why the demon race's lord didn't even know about the demon city. Let's go. The 3 of them continued to travel towards the demon city. Along the way, they encountered more and more demon race members. However, under the demon ape's purposeful aura, no one dared to cause trouble. The 3 of them successfully arrived at the demon city. Ignoring the surprised gazes of the demon race members, they flew into the city. Swoosh. Swoosh. As soon as the 3 of them entered, several figures of light appeared. The figures of light turned into demon race members, surrounded by the aura of peak primal core realm. The leader of the group was of mortal origin realm. The appearance of a mortal origin realm member as soon as they arrived was enough to prove the strength of the demon race in the wasteland. This was something the Bedlam couldn't compare with. Flying is forbidden in the demon city. Don't you know? The mortal origin realm demon race member asked coldly. The demon ape looked at him and said, you should know where the teleportation array to the Bedlam lands is. The 3 of them entered with the intention of asking for the location of the teleportation array. Normal people wouldn't know, but core realm guards should know. Bastard, didn't you hear what I asked you? The demon race member was furious and scolded the demon ape, even though he could feel the mortal origin realm aura around the demon ape. A cold light flashed in the demon ape's eyes. He raised his hand and shot out a black light. Bang! The black light hit the demon race member. With a loud bang, the demon race member was sent flying and fell to the ground. The surrounding guards and the demon race members on the ground were dumbfounded. What kind of strength was this to defeat a mortal origin realm demon race member in one hit? Chen stood aside and didn't say anything. The demon ape looked at the second demon race member and asked, tell me, where is the teleportation array to the Bedlam lands? Being stared at by the demon ape, the demon race member was terrified. He subconsciously looked into the distance. Who are you? How dare you behave so atrociously in the demon city? With a cold shout, rays of light flew over from the distance. Among these rays of light, there were core realm demons and mortal origin realm demons. There were many of them. These were the guards of the demon city. Chen and the other 2 were soon surrounded by the demon race members. A mortal origin realm demon race member shouted, you dare to bring a human to the demon city? You apes are getting bolder and bolder. My lord, he is not one of us apes. Suddenly, an old voice sounded from below. Following the voice, an old ape walked out. The demon city had its rules. He didn't fly up. Instead, he said to Chen and the demon ape, long time no see, my 2 friends. You know him? The mortal origin realm guard looked at the elder ape. The elder ape nodded and said, they are the ones who suppressed the demon race hundreds of years ago and made an agreement with us. It's them. A cold light flashed in the mortal origin realm guard's eyes. Many years ago, many demon race members entered the ancient beast world to drive all humans out. Unexpectedly, a few powerful humans appeared out of nowhere. Not only did they fail to drive the humans out, they were almost driven out by the humans. In the end, both sides reconciled. This was a humiliation to the demon race. As a mortal origin realm demon race member, this demon race member shouldn't know about such trivial matters. However, one of the demon race members Chen killed was his younger brother. Back then, his younger brother was only a mid-core realm demon race member. He was a genius and extremely powerful. It was said that he was killed in a one-on-one battle with a human. As the elder brother, he didn't believe it. How could a human be a match for a demon race in a one-on-one battle? That's the 2 of them. But they entered the ancient road of trials, the elder ape said. The ancient road of trials. The mortal origin realm demon race members' expression changed. Anyone who had successfully walked out of the ancient road 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 of the human origin layer. However, this was the demon race's base camp. There were many strong cultivators here. He shouted, "So what? You're courting death if you come here and cause trouble." Cause trouble? The demon ape glanced at him and said coldly, "I'm only here to ask for directions." Asking for directions requires you to break into the demon city. Asking for directions requires you to fight in the demon city. Humph, you're obviously looking down on us demon race and the demon city, the demon race member said loudly. His voice spread everywhere. After the other party finished speaking, the atmosphere in the surroundings became much more oppressive. The demon ape shook his head and said, "I'm only here to ask for directions. I don't want to fight. But since you think my attitude is bad, I'll show you what a bad attitude is." With that, the demon ape rushed toward the demon race member. Chapter 977. The demon ape's attack landed on the human origin stage monster. The monster's body exploded with a loud boom. The sound reverberated in the sky, spreading dozens of miles away. All the monsters below and around them were shocked. How strong was the demon ape to explode a human origin stage monster in one hit? Everyone fell into a daze, but Zi Chen's brows furrowed. A ray of light shot out from the explosion and quickly turned into a figure. It was a wolf, glowing with a green light. The green light was a kind of life energy. The green wolf appeared in the air and howled towards the sky. There was a strong aura of the human origin stage around it. The aura made everyone tremble, but it was useless against Zi Chen and the demon ape. When the green wolf's howl faded away, the green light on its body faded away and turned into a human figure. It was the human origin stage monster from before. His face was filled with shock, and his eyes were filled with fear, but more than that, there was anger and resentment. It's the most peculiar green wolf, known as the wolf of life. The elder ape's eyes flashed with surprise, but that was it. In front of Zi Chen and the devil ape, not to mention an incomplete wolf of life, even a real wolf of life would die without a doubt. How dare you attack in the monster city? This is disrespect to the monster race and the wasteland. Men, kill them. The human origin stage monster shouted. The other monsters around them were ready to attack, but they didn't dare to. The demon ape looked around coldly. Zi Chen was also calm, but he was surprised that the monster could dodge the demon ape's attack. Kill them. Kill them. This is an insult to the monster race. We are the monster race of the wasteland. How can we be insulted by mere humans? Seeing that no one moved, the monster said again. Go to hell. The demon ape couldn't stand it anymore. He rushed at the monster again and raised his hand to attack. Just like before, the human origin stage monster's defense was instantly broken by the demon ape. This time, the demon ape deliberately increased its strength and blew the monster's body a second time. The surging energy was still surging, but soon, another beam of light rushed out, and the previous scene appeared again. Seeing that the other party had dodged another attack, the demonic ape was stunned. Zi Chen's expression also changed. We are all demonic beasts from the wasteland. Humans are our food. When have we ever been bullied by humans? Now, they actually dared to kill demonic beasts in the territory of our demonic beasts. Don't tell me we shouldn't gang up on them. A voice rang out from the green wolf. Unfortunately, his words did not have the desired effect. It was true that the people of the Yarrow clan were not afraid of death, but this also depended on the situation. For example, the people in front of them would be courting death, and no one was willing to die for nothing. Could it be that you're all afraid and have submitted? Green Wolf transformed back into his human form and retreated several hundred meters in the air. He looked around. Cultivators of the same level as him all avoided his gaze. As for Dan Realm cultivators, obviously, they didn't even have the right to die. The monster clan is in trouble, but you are not doing anything. The monster clan's human origin stage cultivator was disappointed. However, the other cultivators of the same level were not happy to hear that. They all thought to themselves, you have your own life force, so you can avoid a fatal attack, but we don't. Once we go up, we will definitely be killed. In the end, we will die and have attracted enough hatred, but you will still be alive. Up until now, no powerful cultivators had appeared. Obviously, they were afraid of the two of them. They were not idiots, but mortal origin stage cultivators who had lived for thousands of years. Seeing that the other party was about to speak, Zichen frowned and said coldly, so noisy. Then, Zichen pointed out a finger. As the finger fell, a beam of golden light shot out. The golden light was so fast that the monster clan's human origin stage cultivator could not dodge it at all. The golden light did not explode immediately after hitting the monster clan's human origin stage cultivator. The golden light was like flowing water, covering his entire body. When the golden light had completely covered his entire body was shining with golden light, and then he exploded. Boom! With a loud explosion, the golden light shone brightly. Amidst the explosion, there was a shrill scream. This time, the monster clan's human origin stage cultivator's body did not recover after exploding. He was completely dead. Around them, the monster clan members who knew about the monster clan's strength were shocked. Zichen, we haven't seen each other for more than 100 years. You have indeed become stronger. Below them, the elder ape suppressed the shock in his heart and said, I just broke through by luck. It's not that strong. Zichen asked, Elder, do you know where the teleportation formation to the Bedlam lands is? The elder ape pointed behind them and said, the teleportation formation is behind us. But Zichen, since you are here, why don't you come to the ape clan and let me be your host? Just as the two were talking, powerful auras arrived one after another. The one leading them was an even bigger black ape. The black ape's body was full of chi and blood. It was obvious that he was in the prime of his life. He was a mid-mortal origin stage cultivator, and behind him were a dozen early mortal origin stage cultivators. Greetings, Commander. Seeing the black ape, the others quickly saluted. Scram, all of you, scram. What a bunch of trash. The black ape waved his hand impatiently. The others felt as if they had been pardoned and quickly left. You are Zichen. The black ape stood in front of Zichen. That's right. Zichen nodded. I heard that you were invincible among your peers when you were in the core origin stage. I wonder how strong you are now after breaking through to the mortal origin stage. The black ape asked, why don't we spar? No need for that. Zichen said. Why? Are you afraid of losing? Don't worry, I'll go easy on you. Zichen shook his head and said, I'm not afraid of losing. I'm just worried that I'll accidentally kill you. The black ape was shocked when he heard that. But soon, he laughed out loud, haha, as expected, you humans are funny. You don't believe me. Zichen looked at the black ape. The black ape was still laughing, and the others around him were also laughing as if they were listening to a joke. Demonic ape, be careful not to kill him, Zichen said calmly. The demonic ape nodded. He stepped forward, clenched his fist, and punched. The 4 movements were done in one breath. Then, the fist arrived in front of the black ape. Although the black ape was laughing, he did not let his guard down. When he saw the demonic ape coming, he released a black light around him. The black light was very pure, but it was far from demonic chi. The demonic ape's fist landed on the black ape's defense. The sky suddenly shook, and then the space shattered like a mirror. The black ape felt a strong force coming at him. The force broke through his defense and started to hit his body. His body flew backward involuntarily. The blood in his body was boiling, but he forced himself not to cough up blood. He flew backward for 1,000 meters before he stopped. He was motionless in the air. The laughter around him stopped abruptly. Heaven and earth became dead silent. After 10 breaths, the black ape suppressed his boiling blood and laughed, haha, you do have the right to be arrogant. My name is Yuan Lin. What's your name? The demonic ape looked at Yuan Lin as if he was looking at a monster. He did not answer because he had never seen a person laugh after being hit. Moreover, It was a kind and not malicious laugh. Yuan Lin came to him in the air as if he was familiar with him. He touched his chest and said, "You hit me hard. You almost killed me." Then, he looked down at the elder ape and said, "Leader, you can go back. Leave this to me." The elder ape nodded, then nodded at Zichen and turned to leave. Zichen was shocked. This nascent core elder ape was the leader of the ape bloodline. "Do you still want to fight?" Zichen asked when he saw Yuan Lin coming. "Of course not." Yuan Lin shook his head. "Can you lend the three of us the teleportation array?" Zichen asked. However, Yuan Lin shook his head again and said, "I'm afraid not." Zichen frowned. "What? Do you still want to fight?" Yuan Lin shook his head again. "No, definitely not. It's just a teleportation array. It's not a big deal. We won't be stingy, but not now." "Oh." Zichen looked at him. "There's something I want you to see, Zichen," Yuan Lin said. "What is it?" "It's in the ape clan. You can come with me." Suddenly, Yuan Lin slapped his head and said, "Look at my memory. Zichen, you've just arrived. I should treat you well. Do you want to?" Zichen waved his hand. "No need. Just take me to see it." Zichen saw a hint of anxiety in Yuan Lin's eyes. The elder ape had the same expression just now. Moreover, his perfect spiritual sense did not detect any hostility in Yuan Lin, so Zichen guessed that Yuan Lin had something urgent that could not be solved. "Then come with me." Yuan Lin led Zichen out of Monster City and flew west. The land of chaos has been really lively these days. A group of powerful cultivators comes every few days. They're so powerful that we're all worried. On the way, Ape Lin muttered to himself, "Why else would we human origin stage cultivators go to guard the Monster City? The intruder is not weak. There's a lot of them. What are they here for?" Zichen asked. "There'll be 7 or 8 of them at a time. At most, there'll be a dozen of them. Although there aren't many of them, they're very powerful. They're all in the human origin realm. Besides, they're also very powerful. We can't afford to offend them." Zichen's expression changed immediately. Apparently, he had guessed their intentions. As expected, Yuan Lin said, "They're here just like you. They're here to borrow a path. However, I only saw them borrowing a path forward. I didn't see them returning." Zichen's expression softened. It seemed that the Heavenly Man Pavilion was fine. With a relaxed expression, Zichen asked, "You want me to see something? You want me to help you, right?" Yuan Lin looked at Zichen and said, "You humans are really smart." "That's right. I do have a favor to ask of you." Zichen asked again, "What can I help you with?" Chapter 978. "We need your perfect elemental energy to seal a formation," Ape Lin said without turning his head. "Perfect elemental energy." Zichen looked at Ape Lin cautiously. Ape Lin was stunned as well. Binger didn't understand what Ape Lin was talking about, so he didn't look surprised. "What you did on the ancient road isn't a secret anymore. Experts from the major factions have been coming here recently. It shouldn't be a problem for us to find out more about it," Ape Lin said. Zichen's expression changed as he looked at Ape Lin in surprise. Since Ape Lin knew that he had perfect elemental energy, he must know the reason for his conflict with the major factions. He had the Heavenly Book, and even the 5 elements forces were tempted, let alone these demonic beasts. Moreover, Zichen didn't believe that they didn't know about the Heavenly Book. After seeing the demonic beasts in the Demon City, Zichen didn't believe that there weren't any earthly origin realm experts in the demonic beasts. Ape Lin didn't seem to notice Zichen's thoughts. "They said you were dead. I didn't expect to see you here," he said. Zichen didn't say anything. Ape Lin paused and said, "You have the ancient clan behind you. You don't have to worry. Compared to the 5 elements forces, we're just a small demon clan. We can't compare to them and the ancient clan. Therefore, you don't have to worry about your safety in the wasteland." Zichen relaxed and asked, "What formation do you want me to seal?" "An ancient demon sealing formation." While they were talking, they arrived at a forest. Other than trees, mountains, and boulders, there were some buildings. Apparently, people lived here. Yuan Lin pointed down and said, "This is where my ape lineage lives. We have lived here for generations to guard the demon ceiling formation. However, something has happened to the demon ceiling formation, so we have to retreat." After 10 miles, Zi Chen could feel an oppressive aura in the air. This aura made Binga pale and uncomfortable. Zi Chen quickly used his elemental energy to protect her. Beside him, Devil Ape's expression changed as well. The oppressive aura came from the black world in front of them. Black chi floated there and completely covered the forest. "It's demonic chi," Devil Ape exclaimed. "That's right, it's demonic chi, the purest demonic chi." Yuan Lin said, "Up ahead is the Demon Ceiling Valley, and there is a demon ceiling formation in the valley. This formation has existed for countless years, and it has never changed. But 3 years ago, the demon ceiling formation suddenly lit up, and then waves of demon chi gushed out from it. Just as Ape Lin arrived, a figure rushed out of the demonic chi. When the figure saw Ape Lin with 3 people, he was obviously stunned. He then said, "Alien race, humans, Ape Lin, why did you bring them here?" Instead of answering, the ape asked, "How's the demon ceiling formation?" The ape expert sighed and said, "What else can we do? The gap is getting bigger and bigger. We can't stop it at all. We can only delay the time it takes to break the seal." Yuan Lin said, "Let them try." The ape expert's expression changed instantly. He shouted, "Are you crazy? One of them is a human, and the other is a foreign race." Bing who was in the true energy realm, was ignored. "His Zi Chen. He has perfect Yuan force and should be able to help us. As for him, he's from the sky-splitting battle ape bloodline. According to ancient records, this bloodline has no grudges with us. Plus, he has the purest demonic chi, which should be useful for sealing the formation," Yuan Lin said. The ape expert's expression changed. He was obviously hesitant. Yuan Lin said, "We don't have time. This is the only way, and the clan leader has agreed." The clan leader Yuan Lin was referring to was the elder ape. The elder ape wasn't strong, but his prestige in the ape race was higher than that of the human origin realm cultivators. "I can't make the decision. I'll have to ask the one inside." The ape expert pointed at the demon ceiling valley. "He's there too." Yuan Lin's eyes lit up. "Not just him. The other one is there too, but it's useless." With that, the ape expert flashed into the valley again. A moment later, he came out with 2 people. One of the 2 was a middle-aged ape man. He was full of vitality and had a powerful aura around him. The other was a young man who looked more like a human than an ape man. The moment the 2 of them appeared, their gazes landed on Zi Chen and the devil ape. Zi Chen and the devil ape's pupils shrunk at the same time. A glint flashed across their eyes as a torrential wave rose in their hearts. They had guessed that there would be an Earth origin realm cultivator in the monster race, but they hadn't expected to meet him so soon. "You're Zi Chen," said the middle-aged man. He was in the Earth origin realm and seemed to be very curious about Zi Chen. He had been staring at Zi Chen since he appeared. As for the other young man, he was staring at the demon ape. "Zi Chen, this is Yuan Bao, a powerhouse from our ape clan. He was the one who told us about you," Yuan Lin introduced from the side. Zi Chen cupped his hands and bowed. "Zi Chen greets you, senior." Yuan Bao's black eyes suddenly emitted light. The light seemed to materialize and fell on Zi Chen's body. In the next moment, Zi Chen felt like he was being watched. It was as if the other party wanted to see through him. Buzz. Zi Chen's body suddenly vibrated. Then, a golden light surged from his body. The golden light turned into a light shield and protected him. The light in Yuan Bao's eyes burned brighter. At the same time, the materialized light intertwined with a sonorous sound. It was like 2 sharp blades trying to penetrate the light shield. However, the golden light shield was like an iron wall, blocking the sharp blades. Within the light shield, Zi Chen was at a loss. He obviously didn't know what was going on. The light in Yuan Bao's eyes dissipated. He praised, as expected, as expected. The golden light around Zi Chen also disappeared after the light in Yuan Bao's eyes dissipated. The young ape's gaze also fell on Zi Chen. His face was filled with surprise. Perfect origin energy, demonic origin energy, and pure demonic chi. It shouldn't be too difficult to reveal the seal. Come with me, but this little girl has to stay outside. The demonic chi inside is very strange. I'm afraid it will corrode her, Yuan Bao said. Zichen glanced at Bing and nodded. Yuan Bao was in the Earth origin realm. He only needed to move a finger to kill him. He didn't do it immediately. Obviously, he wouldn't do it deliberately. Yuan Lin said, then I'll stay here and protect Miss Bing. Zichen didn't object. He then followed Yuan Bao into the demon ceiling valley. When they entered the valley, Zichen's spiritual thoughts mainly fell on the young man in front of him. It was a young man named Yuan Long. He was able to stand with Yuan Bao and the respect in Yuan Lin's eyes. Obviously, this young man was extraordinary. Most importantly, he was only in the early stage of the mortal origin realm. After entering the demon ceiling valley, the demon chi was even thicker. There seemed to be some kind of consciousness in the demon chi. This consciousness was full of negative emotions and could affect people's minds. The demon chi here is very strange. It can affect people's minds. Even those in the mortal origin realm can't stay here for long, said Yuan Long. Demon Ape frowned and said, it is very strange. It doesn't look like pure demon chi. It looks more like demon chi with a master. Demon chi with a master? Yuan Long was startled at first, then his face changed. Demon Ape said, it feels like it, but I'm not sure. Yuan Bao frowned. I had such a guess. Could it be that the demon ceiling formation doesn't lead to the demon world, but to a super strong demon race master? I'm not sure, but maybe a strong demon race master is breaking the passage. As the group entered the valley, they sensed that the demon chi was even stronger. In addition, Zichen saw other lights flickering in the darkness of the valley. As they approached, Zichen saw an enormous formation diagram. There were all kinds of lights flowing on the diagram. Some were gold, some were green, some were black, and some were other colors. These lights formed the lines of the diagram and moved continuously. There's perfect origin energy in here. Zichen exclaimed when he sensed the energy flowing within. There's pure demon chi as well, Yuan Long exclaimed in a low voice. Yuan Bao sighed when he heard this. Looks like we're right. The energy that forms this demon ceiling formation is all pure energy. The weakest of them should be at the level of a spirit body. What should we do now? Zichen asked. Back off for now, Yuan Bao said to the group of origin realm monsters in front of the demon ceiling formation. These monsters had been channeling energy into the formation, but it hadn't been very effective. Large amounts of demon chi still flowed out through the flowing light. The group of monsters nodded and retreated. Zichen's group of 4 stepped forward. No one in the world knows how to use this demon ceiling formation anymore. Channel your origin energy into the formation and maintain the original demon ceiling formation. This is the only way, Yuan Bao said. The 3 nodded and channeled the origin energy in their bodies. A steady stream of origin energy flowed into the demon ceiling formation. At first, all kinds of lights flashed and intersected on the formation, but as the 3 types of origin energy entered, they became the main source of light. The Yuan Long was channeling extremely pure demon chi of very high quality. It was almost on par with the origin energy of a spirit body. As the tricolored light grew more intense, the other dim lights suddenly coiled around the tricolored light like little snakes. In an instant, the tricolored light completely dominated the demon ceiling formation. The other lights revolved around it. With the tricolored light in the lead, the amount of energy required became incomparably large. Immediately after, the 3 felt an extremely strong suction force emerge from the formation diagram. The vast amounts of origin energy in their bodies surged wildly toward the formation diagram like a tide. The origin energy in their bodies was rapidly draining away. At the same time, a powerful aura surged around the 3 of them. They displayed heaven-shaking, earth-shattering combat arts in an attempt to recover what they'd expended. However, the demonic chi around them was so thick that Zichen and the Yuan Long couldn't absorb it at all. Even the demon ape couldn't absorb the surging demonic chi around them. The origin energy in their bodies was rapidly draining away, and when it disappeared, it began to devour their life force. Their expressions changed drastically. They couldn't withdraw even if they wanted to, as if they were firmly sucked in by the formation diagram. Chapter 979. This crazy energy came from Yuan Bao. He converted the elemental force in his body into pure spiritual qi and injected it into the three of them. As long as the three of them converted it, it would be converted into their own elemental force. Transferring, converting, and absorbing. Yuan Bao and Zi Chen formed a one-sided cycle in the formation diagram. The three of them were out of danger, but before they could take a breather, a demonic qi penetrated the defense of the formation and rushed towards them. Within the demonic qi, there was a strong willpower. This willpower let out a cold hum, and like a sound wave attack, it split into three and rushed towards their consciousness. In Zi Chen's consciousness, his perfect spiritual thoughts turned into a golden light sword and slashed towards the demonic qi willpower. Boom! As the light sword landed, the violent energy caused the consciousness to tremble. In an instant, it was as if thunder was rumbling. Thousands of golden electric snakes flashed, and the energy contained in the light sword instantly destroyed the energy. After destroying the willpower, Zi Chen was shocked to find that half of his spiritual thoughts had been consumed. At the same time, the devil ape and the dragon ape were also attacked by the willpower. The devil ape's face turned pale, and the dragon ape's mouth was bleeding. This energy was very strong. If it attacked one of them, even if they did not die, they would become retarded and lose their ability to think. Unfortunately, after it split into three, its power was greatly reduced, and it could not kill any of them. Just as the three black lights were destroyed, the energy in the formation diagram reached a state of saturation. The three types of energy were in the middle, and the rest of the energy revolved around them, forming a circular formation diagram. Behind the three of them, Yuan Bao took a deep breath. Even though he was in the Diyuan realm, he could not handle the formation diagram that was like a bottomless pit. Zi Chen and the other two were almost exhausted, and they sat on the ground. The previous attack had consumed a lot of their spiritual thoughts. The demon ceiling formation was reactivated, and the demonic qi in the air was dissipating. The willpower within was also gradually weakening. When the demonic qi completely dissipated, the entire demon ceiling valley appeared in everyone's sight. It was a deep valley with jagged rocks. There were steep peaks on both sides, and there were some ancient trees on both sides of the peaks. Because they had been corroded by devil qi for a long time, these ancient trees, mountain peaks, and strange rocks had all turned black. Light flashed as the other Origin Realm demons flew over. Their eyes were filled with joy. Clearly, the dissipation of the demonic qi meant that the seal was successful. Binger was also brought by Yuan Lin. Seeing Zi Chen's pale face, she asked nervously, "Zi Chen, how are you?" "He's fine. He just used up a lot of energy. He'll be fine after some rest," said Yuan Bao. The others waited in the surroundings, quietly waiting for the three to recover. In an instant, the surrounding spiritual energy of heaven and earth went berserk. Then, with the three of them as the center, three small energy storms formed. This energy storm was formed entirely from the spirit qi of the heavens and earth, and it was extremely pure. Obvious envy appeared on the faces of the other Origin Realm cultivators when they saw this. This was a special ability that only those who had reached the human origin stage could possess. With this ability, they would not need to worry about the exhaustion of their energy when fighting against their enemies. With just a thought, they could even heal their severely injured body. Although he didn't dare to say that he had an immortal body, in terms of recovery, there wasn't much difference. "Zi Chen, I have to thank the two of you for this," Yuan Bao said gratefully. Zi Chen said, "No need to be so polite, senior. It's just that the seal required the three of us. Although the quality of our energy is very high, our cultivation levels are still a bit lacking. I'm afraid it won't last long." Yuan Bao smiled. "No matter, it won't be a problem for the seal to last 100 years. The demon race has already invaded the ancient path, and there's nothing we can do to stop them. However, it's good that we have 100 more years to prepare." Zi Chen nodded. "The demon sealing formation is temporarily sealed. I'd like to use the transportation formation of the monster spirits to return. Yuan Bao said, so soon? Why don't you stay here for a few days so we can play host to you? That's right, stay for a few days, Yuan Long agreed. Zi Chen shook his head. No, the fringe isn't safe these days. I'm worried about my friends. Seeing that Zi Chen had made up his mind, Yuan Bao didn't try to persuade him to stay. All right then, I'll see you off personally. Thank you, senior. Yuan Bao led Zi Chen and the other two directly to the demon city. Yuan Lin, Yuan Long, and the others followed. Now that the matter of the seal had been resolved, the next step was to prepare for the invasion of the demon race. The transportation formation to the fringe wasn't taken seriously, and there weren't many experts guarding it. With Yuan Bao's arrival, it was natural for them to use it. Zi Chen, if you have time, you can come to the demon city as a guest. Yuan Bao invited. Behind him stood a group of human origin realm experts. Zi Chen nodded and smiled. I'll definitely come when I have time. The three figures were swallowed by the light of the transportation formation and disappeared. With a flash of light, Zi Chen and the other two arrived at the fringe. As soon as they arrived, they saw a group of cultivators flying at high speed. These people were very fast, and they looked anxious. However, they didn't look like they were being chased. Instead, they looked happy, as if they were waiting for a good show. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, we won't be able to watch the show if we're late. Sure enough, as they were flying, some people impatiently called out to their friends. Zi Chen and the other two stood there, stunned. A middle-stage inner core cultivator flew past them, but quickly turned back and said loudly, "Idiot, if we don't hurry up, we won't be able to watch the show." Good show. Zi Chen looked at him. Yes, the destruction of the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion. Dan Yuan said again, looking very excited. What's going on? Zi Chen asked, and an aura surged around him. Feeling the vast aura, Dan Yuan's face changed immediately. However, facing Zi Chen's sharp eyes, he couldn't even think of running away. He could only say, some human origin realm experts with swords on their backs are heading to the outer regions to attack the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion. They've already broken through the Heavenly Barbarian Market and surrounded the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion for more than 10 days. It's said that they'll break through soon. Zi Chen's expression relaxed, and he asked, isn't the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion a power in the Bedlam lands? As a local power, aren't you happy that they've been attacked by an external power? Dan Yuan smiled. Happy, of course, we're happy. Let me tell you, the overlords are happy too. Zi Chen's aura disappeared. After seeing that Zi Chen didn't have any ill intentions, Dan Yuan relaxed a lot and said, you don't know, the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion has grown too fast these years. They're almost the #1 power in the Bedlam lands. They only care about themselves and don't care about the lives of others. Today's destruction is their own fault. Dan Yuan said excitedly, you don't know how the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion has developed these years. More than 80% of the elixirs in the Bedlam lands are sold by them. More than 60% of the high-quality elixir weapons are sold by them. Their daily income is an unimaginable amount. Plus, they've gained the most from the ancient beast realm. Tell me, all the good things belong to them and they don't leave a way out for others. Shouldn't they be unlucky? Zi Chen nodded and said, that's right, they should be unlucky. Dan Yuan smiled again and said, that's right. Look, they're going to be unlucky. It's said that the pavilion master provoked someone he shouldn't have and they came knocking on his door. Looking at the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion's way of doing things now, you can guess what kind of person their previous pavilion master was. That guy was definitely a selfish person who only cared about himself and didn't care about the lives of others. The demonic ape's face darkened and said, it's said that the pavilion master led people to conquer the ancient beast realm back then. He helped the entire Bedlam lands. TSK, what? Where did you hear that from? Let me tell you, the major powers weren't willing to fight back then. It was the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion who persuaded them. They had no choice but to send out their troops. But guess what happened in the end? The Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion didn't send a single person. They even sold elixirs at a high price in the ancient beast realm. The demonic ape was about to beat someone up when Zi Chen waved his hand and said, all right, we got it. Thank you for the information. You can leave now. Since we're here to watch the show, why don't we leave together? Dan Yuan could tell that Zi Chen was an expert and invited him. Scram. The demonic ape was furious. Dan Yuan was shocked and fled as fast as he could. Too infuriating, too infuriating. The demonic ape was so angry that his knuckles cracked. Zi Chen's expression was calm as he said, "There's nothing to be angry about. The fact that the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion can become the public enemy now proves that they've done well. They're very powerful and are envied by many. They've gone too far. Back then, we risked our lives for the Bedlam lands. What did we get in return?" The demonic ape was furious. Zi Chen said, "We got the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion to rise. We created a miracle. In just a few hundred years, we established the strongest power that can suppress the overlords. The rise of the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion was sudden and sudden. They didn't have time to settle down or accumulate. They only had endless resources. In the eyes of many, this was luck. Luck was an illusory thing that could descend on anyone. In their hearts, if they were lucky enough, they could have achieved what they had today. The deepest level of jealousy is reverence. Although the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion is a great power now, it hasn't reached its peak yet. It's still in the stage of jealousy. Once it reaches the limit of growth and reaches a true peak, the jealousy in their hearts will turn into reverence," Zi Chen said. The demonic ape nodded. He had a deep understanding of this point. If two cultivators were of the same level and one of them had a fortuitous encounter, the other would definitely be jealous. He might even think of ways to harm them. However, if that person was 100 times stronger than him, he would naturally not dare to be jealous. "Let's go. We should go and see what the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion is like now." The demonic ape loosened his clenched fists and said coldly, "I believe that after this incident, the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion will no longer be envied. It will only be revered." Zi Chen smiled and said, "Of course, in the future, when people talk about the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion, there will only be two expressions. One will be reverence and the other will be flattery." The three of them went straight to the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion. From afar, they saw many cultivators gathered outside the pavilion. Chapter 980. The Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion was completely surrounded by the crowd of cultivators. More than 10 human-level soldiers flashed in the sky. These human-level soldiers spread out and formed a sword formation, enveloping the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion. Within the sword formation, countless sword rays flashed and wreaked havoc, completely suppressing the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion's formation. Clanging sounds kept ringing in the sky as one sword ray after another attacked the formation, trying to destroy it. There were more than 10 human origin realm elites controlling the sword formation. The leader was a man in a black robe, who was in the late stage of the human origin realm. Other than that, there were 3 middle-stage human origin realm elites, while the rest were in the early stage. Among the crowd, Zi Chen found some familiar figures, such as the human origin realm elites from the 5 overlords and the masters of the various forces. They were all quietly looking at the sword formation in front of them without any change in expression. As for the rest of the people around them, whether they were from big or small forces or individual cultivators, they were much more excited. The entire Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion was dead silent. In the face of this powerful sword formation, they did not make an effective counterattack. It seemed that they did not even have an effective defense, allowing the sword formation to attack the formation. This formation can still hold on for a while. Sensing that the formation was still stable, Zi Chen retracted his spiritual thoughts from the formation. They did not enter the formation, which means that they suffered a great loss. This time, they want to break the formation from the outside. The devil ape looked forward and asked, "Should we go up?" Zi Chen shook his head and said, "No rush, let's wait first." A loud sword sound suddenly rang in the sky. This sword sound came from the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion's formation. 5 sharp sword chi rushed out of the pavilion's protective formation and into the sword formation in the sky. This sword chi was extremely terrifying. It destroyed the sword rays in the sword formation in an instant. Then, the 5 sword chi flew in all directions with boundless sword intent, wanting to destroy the human-level soldiers. "Mph, I've been waiting for you." A cold snort came from the sky. The elite in the late stage of the human origin realm formed a seal with his hands. The next moment, the surrounding human-level soldiers emitted a dazzling light. Loud sword sounds rang out as the other elites channeled their yuan force into their weapons. The surrounding spiritual chi of heaven and earth began to surge crazily, gradually forming a super-strong storm that gathered in the middle of the sword formation. Clanging sounds continued to ring out as one sword light after another shot out from the human-level soldier towards the 5 streaks of sword chi. The 2 types of energy crisscrossed in the sword formation, producing energy vibrations that shook the entire area. Seeing this scene, everyone's expression changed, especially the few mortal origin stage cultivators. They could feel the terrifying power contained in the 5-sword chi that shot out from the sword. It was an attack that could kill them in a single blow. While their expressions changed, their hearts were also filled with shock. They had been in seclusion all these years and did not pay attention to the heavenly barbarian pavilion at all. They thought that they could suppress the heavenly barbarian pavilion's old tortoise with a breakthrough in their abilities and increased their combat power. However, they did not expect to see such a scene the moment they came out of seclusion. The heavenly barbarian pavilion had already grown to the point where they feared it. Just this sword chi alone could destroy them. The 5 streaks of sword light were extremely powerful and terrifying. However, there were many experts in the sword sect who had a deeper understanding of the sword. In the clash of energy, the 5 streaks of sword chi lost their strength. The light dimmed and eventually dissipated. Seeing that the sword formation had destroyed the sword chi, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. The heavenly barbarian pavilion's strength made everyone wary. However, at this moment, the sound of swords humming could be heard once again. This time, other than the humming of swords, there was also a loud and clear dragon's roar. Another 5 streaks of sword chi rushed out. This time, the power contained in the sword chi was even stronger. After the sword chi appeared, it turned into a sword dragon and wreaked havoc in the sword formation. The power contained within the sword dragons caused everyone to relax and become tense again. However, the people from the sword sect had come prepared. When they saw the sword dragons appear, they, who had been forming hand seals by themselves, all formed hand seals. Afterwards, the 10 or so human-grade weapons seemed to fuse into one, and a powerful sword intent appeared and shot towards the 5 sword dragons. The void in the sword formation was twisting crazily. The powerful aura surged out of the sword formation. The mortal origin stage cultivators were not affected, but the elixir realm cultivators and zephyr realm cultivators could not withstand it. They either retreated or were sent flying by the impact. As they were sent flying, blood rained down from the sky. Some of them were injured, and some of their bodies were torn into pieces as if they had been cut by the sword chi. The group retreated for a few miles. During this time, even a few mortal origin stage cultivators retreated. The reason why they retreated was not because they were afraid of the sword sect's aura, but because they did not want the people from the sword sect to misunderstand. The 5 sword dragons collided continuously in the sword formation. Many sword chi blocked them. This time, more than 10 mortal origin stage cultivators had used their full strength. This was a clash of formations. It was not something that a single person could withstand. If the people present were in the middle of the formation, no one would be able to withstand the impact of this power. The sword dragons roared and the sword will wreaked havoc. The entire sword formation was filled with a destructive aura. The protective formation above the heavenly barbarian pavilion was twisting crazily. Occasionally, a crack would appear on it. However, as soon as the crack appeared, it would heal instantly. In the heavenly barbarian pavilion, Deputy Pavilion Master Wang Qiong raised his head and looked at the sword formation formed by the destructive energy. The 5 sword dragons had dimmed and seemed like they would disappear at any time. Beside him, old Gui stood there and frowned. If it was a one-on-one battle, he would not be afraid of the people from the sword sect. Just like before, he could kill as many as they came. However, the other party had set up a sword formation. This was something that he could not withstand. "No, controlling the sword dragons won't be able to break this formation," said LV Peng, who was controlling the formation's defense and attack. Then what should we do? Asked Wang Qiong. At this moment, he was obviously out of ideas. The other powerful cultivators from the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion stood behind Wang Qiong. Their battle prowess was not weak, but they were of no use at all. This was a battle of matrices, and no one could interfere unless someone attacked the people from the sword sect from the outside. However, looking at the faces of the cultivators outside, they knew that this would not happen. Now, all the forces wanted the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion to be destroyed today. The 5 sword dragons exploded one by one in the sky. The destructive energy wreaked havoc. This time, the 2 consecutive attacks did not break the sword formation. Instead, they weakened the pavilion's defense. LV Peng gritted his teeth and made up his mind. He said coldly, "I don't care anymore. This is the last fight. Old Gooey, transfer the energy to me." Old Turtle did not hesitate. He placed one hand on LV Peng's back, and an endless stream of energy surged into LV Peng's body. The aura around LV Peng instantly soared, and a powerful aura filled his entire body. He formed a seal with his hands and shouted, "Rise." As soon as he finished speaking, boundless energy surged out, and the entire Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion rumbled. 5 stone tablets that stood on the peak of the mountain rose from the ground. They were obtained by Zi Chen from the ancient battlefield. Each stone tablet was engraved with the ancient word sword. At this moment, as the stone tablets rose into the air, the ancient word sword on the stone tablets began to glow. A sharp sword intent emerged from the stone tablets. The sword intent was extremely ancient, as if it came from a prehistoric era. In the outside world, everyone was elated when they saw the sword dragons shatter. The pavilion's defense formation was also broken at this moment. However, before the sword light in the sword formation could rush in, something appeared. As soon as this thing appeared, the sky and earth lost their color. The wind and clouds moved, and a boundless sword chime resounded. At this moment, everyone lost their hearing. Apart from the sword, they could no longer see anything else. Apart from the sword chime, they could not hear anything else. On the 5 sword tablets, the word sword flashed with boundless light. Every ray of light was a sharp sword aura, and every ray contained sword intent. As the boundless sword light swept past, the formation exploded with a loud bang. It was simple, direct, and domineering. It was as easy as crushing dry weeds. Everyone in the surroundings was completely shocked. Even Zi Chen and the Devil Ape had a strange look on their faces. They had never expected the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion to have such a trump card. Zi Chen and the Devil Ape also did not expect the sword tablets to have such an effect. Binga was beside Zi Chen. She was protected by Zi Chen's energy. She opened her eyes wide and looked at the sword tablets curiously. The 5 sword tablets that rose from the ground shattered the sword formation. However, before LV Peng and the rest could cheer, their faces were filled with shock, unwillingness, and disbelief. Sword tablets, there are more sword tablets. At the same time, the Devil Ape also exclaimed. The sword formation was broken, but 4 sword steelies suddenly appeared in the sky. The quality of these sword steelies seemed to be the same as the 5 steelies below, but the surging aura was stronger, and the sword intent was clearer and sharper. This did not mean that the sword tablets of the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion were inferior to the 4 tablets. It was just that the difference in strength between the 2 parties controlling the sword tablets was too great. Haha, I was waiting for this. Seeing the 5 sword tablets appear, the sword sect elite laughed loudly. He formed a seal with his hands. This time, it was an even more complicated seal. Streaks of energy landed on the 4 sword tablets one after another. Beside him, the rest of the Mortal Origin stage elites were also forming the same seal. At this moment, they had to work together to control the 4 sword tablets to fight against the 5 below. Of course, the so-called fight was fake. Their real goal was to snatch the sword tablets. The reason why the sword sect could achieve so much was not only because they possessed a powerful sword heart, but also because of the 4 sword tablets. This was the inheritance of innate stage techniques. It was an eternal inheritance. The sword sect had risen because of this. However, They had never expected that there would be 5 sword tablets in the heavenly barbarian pavilion in such a remote place. The most infuriating thing was that the inheritance that the sword sect regarded as a treasure was used as the foundation of a formation to guard the door. Although the effect of using the sword stele as the base of the formation was not bad and its power was very strong, compared to its true use, it could be said that it was worlds apart. It could be said that leaving the sword tablets here was a complete waste of natural resources. Ever since a sword sect elite had luckily escaped, the sword sect had brought people here for the 5 sword tablets. A strange power surged from the 4 sword tablets. This power passed through the sword tablets and landed on the 5 sword tablets below. The 4 sword tablets that were originally connected had now become 9. In the heavenly barbarian pavilion below, LV Peng suddenly realized that the 5 sword tablets that he was controlling were showing signs of losing control. "Oh no, come and help me," LV Peng shouted. Chapter 981. A woman flew over from the horizon. She was wearing tight black clothes. She was tall and slender, with curves in all the right places. Her neck was beautiful, and her appearance was gorgeous. Innate force surged around her, and behind her were more than 10 primordial core realm experts. Her phoenix eyes were glaring furiously as she rushed over at an extremely fast speed. "It's that female Rakshasa. The female Rakshasa from the heavenly barbarian pavilion has returned." When they saw the woman, cries of surprise rang out from all around. Many people's expressions changed, but soon, mocking voices rang out. "So what if she's a female Luosha? She's still in the inner core realm. How can she be a match for a human origin realm cultivator? This female Rakshasa is definitely a top beauty. Unfortunately, she's going to fall into someone else's hands today." The female Rakshasa was Ling from back then. 100 years had passed, and the little girl from back then had grown into a great beauty. She had always stayed in the ancient beast world and fought for the heavenly barbarian pavilion. The more beautiful she was, the more ruthless she was when fighting her enemies. Otherwise, how could she have gotten the name Luosha? When she heard that the heavenly barbarian pavilion was in trouble, she rushed back with her people. Behind her, there were some familiar faces, including Zhong Tong, Wild Wolf, and Hei Feng, who only knew how to wield 3 sabers. When they arrived, they didn't care about their own cultivation level and rushed straight to the human origin stage. The sword sect had sent 13 mortal origin realm cultivators, and their combat strength was extremely formidable. However, at this moment, they were being held back by the sword stele. An extremely powerful aura surged out from the heavenly barbarian pavilion. Then, array flags rushed out one after another. These array flags surrounded the 5 sword steles, and together with the sword steles, they rose into the air and struck the other 4 sword steles. In the heavenly barbarian pavilion, LV Peng had already borrowed everyone's strength to restrain the other 4 sword steles. Both sides were in a stalemate. Neither side could back out. Although Ling and the others were only at the origin core realm, they were the last straw that broke the camel's back. There was a strange look on the face of the late-stage human origin stage cultivator, but before he could think of a way to deal with these Dan origin stage cultivators, his spiritual sense detected that other Dan origin stage cultivators had flashed out. "Stop!" More than 10 primordial Dan experts flew out from the crowd, directly blocking Ling group. These people had cold expressions, and their eyes were filled with hostility. These were all extremely unfamiliar faces. No one knew whether they were rogue cultivators or people from powerful forces. "Get lost!" Ling shouted. Her eyes were filled with murderous intent. As she raised her hand, she sent out a beam of innate origin energy. This origin energy carried an extremely cold aura as it landed on Dan Yuan. Pu. With a soft sound, the cold aura hit the other party's body, and the cold aura enveloped the other party's body. This Dan essence cultivator was instantly turned into an ice sculpture. His will dissipated, and his body fell from the sky. With just a single word of disagreement, she had attacked and killed a primordial core expert. Ling decisiveness caused everyone's expression to change greatly. "You dare to stop your grandpa wolf? Kill without mercy." The wild wolf let out a roar as well. Light flashed around his body. With a shake of his body, his true body, which was like a mountain, appeared. After revealing his true form, he rushed forward. Puff! A sharp blade light flashed, and one of the Dan primes was split in two. Zhong Tong had also made his move. After killing the enemy with one strike, his energy consumption was not as great as expected. Clearly, with the support provided by the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion over the years, he was close to being able to make 3 strikes. The people that Linga brought back were all strong cultivators. They were very famous in the ancient beast world. Not only in the ancient beast world, but when Zichen was here, they were already quite famous. It could be said that these people were the elders of the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion. As soon as the battle began, it became a one-sided massacre. Very few Dan primes could fight them head-on. The Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion has only cared about themselves and not others. Who knows how many people have died? Today, the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion is about to be destroyed. We must stop them. In the face of the massacre, the group of Dan primes was not afraid. Instead, more people rushed over. That's right. The Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion has done many evil things. They only have themselves to blame for today's bitter consequences. Another roar was heard, and more Dan primes rushed out from the crowd. These people were all unfamiliar faces. Ling and the rest had not seen them before, but now they appeared and wanted to stop them. Rumble. The 9 sword steelies were colliding. LV Peng and the rest were defending and guarding the sword steelies. As for the people from the sword sect, they were trying to snatch the 5 sword steelies. The infighting at such a critical moment was beyond their expectations. However, when they saw many Dan primes rushing over to stop these people, they sneered. Obviously, the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion had aroused public anger. The forces in the Land of Chaos wanted to take this opportunity to take them down. How about it? Do you want to fight? The devil ape's body was surging with coldness as he looked at Zichen. Zichen's face became gloomy. He was not angry because of the sword sect, but because of the local forces. He did not expect that the local forces and the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion had developed to such an extent that they would not rest until one of them was dead. At this moment, when everyone attacked, although the overlords did not say anything, it was a tacit agreement. Haha, it seems that you have angered the public. However, it's fine. Today, we will destroy your little sect. Remember, the one who destroyed you is the sword sect. If you have the ability, go and take revenge on the sword sect. The laughter of the sword sect experts came from the sky. In the battle in the sky, the 4 sword steelies clearly had the upper hand. Once they successfully controlled the 5 sword steelies, they could destroy the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion with the 9 sword steelies. Although Ling and the rest were powerful, they could not fight against the number of people. If that was all, it would be fine. However, there were still a few mortal origin realm experts causing trouble. Zichen's face became gloomier, and the air around him became cold. A cultivator beside him sensed it and immediately said, "If there is a grudge, just go and take revenge." Zichen nodded and said coldly, "That's right. If there is a grudge, take revenge. If there is no grudge, just kill." When the cultivator beside him heard this, his eyes lit up and he said, "That's right. The Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion is powerful, so there must be a lot of wealth inside. As long as we kill everyone, we can get the wealth inside." Zichen nodded again and said, "That's right. Kill." With that, Zichen walked forward. When the cultivator beside him saw this, he was about to step forward. However, a strong force came from beside him, and he was killed by the devil ape with a slap. The battle in the distance was very intense, so no one paid attention to the devil ape's simple slap. Zichen walked towards the battlefield in front, where the sword sect's mortal origin realm experts were. Meanwhile, the devil ape walked towards another battlefield, where Ling was being suppressed by a few mysterious people. The devil ape walked forward and was not stopped. In their opinion, it should be a death warrior who was looking for trouble with the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion. However, no one expected the devil ape to attack the mortal origin realm experts. This time, the devil ape attacked decisively, forcefully, and aggressively. Bang! With a single slap, a primordial core realm cultivator was unable to dodge at all. He was struck and exploded. This explosion even shattered his primordial core realm cultivator. The destructive energy engulfed the devil ape, but it was unable to break through his defenses. This explosion almost resounded through the sky, attracting the attention of many people. The devil ape strode forward and slapped again. Boom! The explosion in the sky continued. Seeing this, everyone's expression changed drastically. One of them shouted at the devil ape, "Are you stupid? You killed the wrong person. You should have killed the people from the heavenly barbarian pavilion." The devil ape glanced at him, and a smile appeared at the corner of its mouth. "Damn it, you're still smiling." His voice stopped abruptly, and at the same time, there was an explosion. His mortal origin realm exploded together with his body. Killing a person with a single slap, this battle prowess shocked many people, and they were all forced to retreat. During this time, several mysterious middle-aged men blocked Ling Er's path. When they saw this scene, two of them also rushed toward the devil ape. The devil ape raised its hand and slapped twice again. Boom! Boom! Two more explosions sounded between heaven and earth. These two mysterious people were also killed. However, after they exploded, there was no blood on their bodies, and there was no mortal origin realm in their bodies. They were actually clones. In the blink of an eye, the devil ape had already slapped a few times and killed all the targets. Such combat power shocked everyone. Ling Er and the rest turned their heads and looked at the devil ape. When they saw it, their eyes widened, and there was disbelief in their eyes. The devil ape. Wild Wolf's eyes widened, and then he rubbed his eyes with his claws. He really could not believe it. Haifeng and Zhong Tong were the same. Everyone who knew the devil ape was in disbelief and looked like they had seen a ghost. "It's you, the devil ape," Ling Er also exclaimed. She, who was known as the female Rakshasa, had lost her composure. The devil ape only nodded at a few people. Then, in a flash, it appeared in front of a mysterious person and slapped him. After 3 consecutive slaps, 3 mysterious clones were killed. The devil ape made a strong entrance and destroyed the enemy. The shock that the devil ape brought to others was enough. The battle stopped instantly. The people around were shocked, but they did not dare to make a move. How could it be him? He is the devil ape beside Zi Chen, the sky-splitting battle ape of the foreign race. Didn't he go to the ancient road? Why is he back? There was another reason why the battle did not continue, and that was because an outsider recognized the devil ape. Back then, Zi Chen had appeared out of nowhere and rose to power. However, as long as one had seen Zi Chen and knew Zi Chen, they would definitely know the devil ape. Back then, Zi Chen had been able to establish the heavenly barbarian pavilion in the land of chaos. Besides his own strength, he also had the help of others around him. The devil ape was definitely a powerful general. "Devil ape, you're back. Where is Zi Chen?" Ling Er was very excited to see the devil ape. After asking, her face was full of anticipation, nervousness, and apprehension. This female Rakshasa who killed without blinking had lost her composure again and again today. Ling Er was not the only one who wanted to know this question. Everyone who knew the devil ape wanted to know. Back then, they had gone to the ancient road together. Now that he had returned, what about Zi Chen? Where was Zi Chen? Suddenly, a voice sounded in everyone's ears, "Stop, don't go over." It was a primordial core realm cultivator who had accidentally discovered a young man who was trying to approach the battlefield. At this moment, the sword sect was about to win the battle. They naturally could not afford to lose. Therefore, a primordial core realm cultivator rushed toward Zi Chen. The other party came from behind Zi Chen and attacked him. It was a sneak attack. Chapter 982. The golden light rushed toward his Jindan and then exploded. Boom. The sound was almost the same as when the devil ape killed the enemy. The same explosion, the same vibration, and the same effect. The Jindan was blown up by the golden light and not a single drop was left. Even his Jindan was blown up. This sound once again pulled everyone's gazes back to the front. Only then did they realize that a young man in black with a straight back was walking towards the battlefield ahead. The moment she saw the back, Ling Er's eyes immediately turned red. She didn't need to look at the face or ask the devil ape. She recognized the owner of the back at a glance. She had once been saved by this figure, and she would never forget it. Zi Chen. It was Zi Chen. He had returned. The female Rakshasa's tears fell unwillingly. She had been waiting for him for more than 100 years. Everyone else had entered the ancient road to increase their strength, but she didn't. She stayed at the heavenly barbarian pavilion, waiting for Zi Chen's return. She wanted to wait for him, wait for Zi Chen's return. After more than 100 years, he had finally returned at such a critical moment. When Heifeng, Yi Lang, Zhong Tong, and the others saw Zi Chen, their expressions became extremely excited. They couldn't help but shout loudly. Zi Chen was a name full of miracles. Along the way, he had been accompanied by one aura after another. He had turned the impossible into reality one after another. He was the creator of miracles. Zi Chen. It's him. He actually came back. The other familiar people naturally recognized Zi Chen. Their expressions changed drastically, and their emotions immediately became complicated. Especially the few mortal origin realm cultivators, their eyes were full of fear because they felt an extremely terrifying aura from Zi Chen. During this time, a few more people rushed toward Zi Chen, but Zi Chen didn't even need to turn around. Wherever the golden light passed, their Jindan exploded and they died. After killing 4 Jindan origin realm cultivators, no one dared to come forward. He finally walked to the center of the battlefield. During this period of time, the Sword Sect, who had completely gained the upper hand, had also successfully divided out a human origin stage powerhouse. The man turned around with the mortal grade sword in hand, his cold eyes landing on Zi Chen. This was a guy who looked very familiar, but he couldn't remember where he had seen him before. However, this didn't stop him from wanting to kill him. He swung the sword in his hand and shouted coldly at Zi Chen, "Little brat, if you dare to come up now, you are simply courting death. Even if you are in the human origin stage, you will still die." Murderous intent flashed in his eyes. As soon as he finished speaking, the sound of his sword rang out, and he instantly launched an attack. Slash. A resplendent sword chi appeared, bringing with it an unparalleled sword will. It went straight for Zi Chen's forehead. This attack shattered the space. It was powerful and terrifying. The sword master was still grinning viciously. So what if his opponent was in the mortal origin realm? He was a sky warrior in the mortal origin realm. He could kill an ordinary mortal origin realm warrior in minutes. He could already foresee the scene of him killing his opponent with one strike. Facing the sword chi, Zi Chen's expression didn't change. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched out. Golden light. Dazzling golden light filled the sky. Perfect power was circulating. A crazy aura that made the sky and earth pale appeared. Feeling the aura of Zi Chen's attack, the sword master's expression changed drastically. He quickly changed from attacking to defending. But it was too late. The moment he faced Zi Chen, his fate was sealed. The sword chi was shattered by Zi Chen's attack. Next was the mortal grade sword. Under the powerful attack, cracks appeared on the mortal grade sword and then it exploded. Zi Chen's fist was once again aimed at his opponent's heart. Boom. Another explosion sounded. It was the same sound as before, but this time, it made everyone's heart beat faster and their mouths twitch. Because this attack had killed a human origin stage warrior, a real human origin stage warrior. The effect of this strike caused the expressions of everyone to change violently as terror arose in their hearts. On the other hand, the experts of the Sword Sect that had disdainful expressions earlier had turned their heads successively to look at Zi Chen, and their expressions had become solemn. Not everyone didn't know Zi Chen. Everyone felt that Zi Chen looked familiar, but one of them recognized him. His expression changed and he exclaimed, "Zi Chen, you're Zi Chen, the one who has the heavenly book. Didn't you die?" This exclamation awakened the others' memories. They finally remembered where they had seen him. It was on the portrait given by the sect. There was Zi Chen's face and some of Zi Chen's deeds. Among them, there was only one thing about him killing a spirit. They had seen it and were shocked for a long time. They had only seen the portrait and had never seen him in person. They didn't expect to see him today. However, the news said that he was dead. Now, all the forces were looking for his body. Why was he still alive? They couldn't find the answer to this question because Zi Chen said in the next moment, "Demon ape, kill. Kill everyone you think should be killed." As soon as he finished speaking, Zi Chen charged towards a sword-sect human origin stage cultivator in front of him at extreme speed. Coupled with the fact that both of them were at the same level, the human origin stage cultivator couldn't even catch a glimpse of Zi Chen's figure before Zi Chen appeared in front of him. When he realized what was going on, a fist with golden light had already hit his face. The golden light of the fist hit the opponent hard. The power contained in the fist exploded with a loud bang. The effect was still repeating. It was too easy for Zi Chen to kill someone who was at the same level as him. Not to mention a human origin stage warrior, even a spirit would be killed by Zi Chen's punch. On the other side, Zi Chen's target was very clear. It was the people from the sword school. His attacks were simple and violent. He just threw out his fists, but every time his fists landed, a human origin stage cultivator would die. On the other side, as soon as Zi Chen finished speaking, a black light flashed in the demon ape's hand. He took out a black stick. After taking out the black stick, he didn't use it to kill the Dan essences around him. Instead, he flashed and flew towards the crowd. He flashed and appeared in front of a human origin stage warrior. This person was from the Shangguan clan. He was the ancestor of both Shangguan Yu and Shangguan Bingshi. The demon ape's eyes were cold. Killing intent flashed in his eyes. Demon ape, this is a misunderstanding. This is a misunderstanding. Zi Chen, this is a misunderstanding. The ancestor of the Shangguan clan was shocked. He shouted loudly while controlling the power in his body to defend and retreat. Zi Chen was busy killing his enemies and didn't care about this. The demon ape didn't stop either. Instead, he stretched out his other hand. Black light circled around his fingers. His innate ability appeared again. The old man felt that the Yuan power in his body suddenly went out of control. The Yuan power that he was using started to disappear. This discovery made his expression change. But at this moment, the black stick fell with a destructive aura. Boom! There was another explosion. The human origin stage warrior from the Shangguan clan exploded. He was at the intermediate stage of the human origin stage and had lived for thousands of years. But such an existence was easily defeated by the demon ape. Everyone around was shocked by the combat power of the demon ape and Zi Chen. They were terrified and regretful. In the demon ape's heart, the Shangguan clan was important enough. This was because Shangguan Yu had a close relationship with Zi Chen and Shangguan Bingshi had a close relationship with Zhong Haotian. Because of this, he was furious when he saw that the Shangguan clan didn't help the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion and even hit them when they were down. He was the first to attack the Shangguan clan. As the saying goes, the higher the expectations, the greater the disappointment. The fact that the demon ape killed the Shangguan clan's origin stage warrior meant that the relationship between the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion and the local forces was completely broken. After killing the human origin stage warrior from the Shangguan clan, the demon ape rushed toward the second human origin stage warrior. This person was from the Wu clan, and Wu Yu was Wang Qiong's wife. Of course, this Wu clan wasn't the same Wu clan in the eastern region. Run! The Wu clan's origin stage warrior had the thought of running away after the demon ape killed the Shangguan clan's origin stage warrior. In terms of relationship, the Shangguan clan was the closest to the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion. But now, the Shangguan clan's origin stage warrior was killed. This relationship was clearly broken. When the Wu clan's origin stage warrior started to run, the other three clans naturally followed. At this moment, they couldn't even think of resisting. However, even if they broke through and reached the intermediate stage of the human origin stage, they couldn't compare to the demon ape. If the sky-splitting battle ape wanted to kill someone, no one could escape. Amidst the rumbling sounds, the demon ape waved its black stick and killed 5 human origin stage warriors from the overlords. All the cultivators around them were stunned. The demon ape's combat strength was just too strong. The demon ape's return meant that there would only be one superpower in the Bedlam lands from now on, and that was the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion. The Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion took less than 200 years to rise to the top from its establishment. Everyone knew that the sky of the Bedlam lands was going to change today. Damn it, fall. On the other side, the advanced stage of the human origin stage warrior roared. He had already abandoned the other 5 sword steelies and was controlling 4 sword steelies to attack Zi Chen. Zi Chen stood in the air and formed a seal with his hands. In the next moment, a light flashed in front of him and the Xiantian realm extreme yin appeared. A glaring half-moon rushed toward the advanced stage of the human origin stage warrior at a speed that was as fast as teleportation. Then, a golden light flashed and extreme yang appeared. The golden sun followed closely behind the half-moon. Boom! When the 2 energies reached the advanced stage of the human origin stage warrior, they exploded. This was the destructive power of the collision of the perfect yin and yang. Its power was unimaginable. A black hole with a radius of a few thousand meters appeared in the sky. The black hole was filled with endless spatial turbulence. The destructive power was still surging and spreading. The pavilion's protective formation that had been holding on for a long time finally reached its limit and collapsed under the destructive power. The huge Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion appeared in front of everyone. The Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion's protective formation was broken, but so what? None of the sword sect warriors were still alive. Zi Chen killed the advanced stage of the human origin stage warrior first. The 4 sword steelies above his head fell down. Although they were still powerful, they were not fatal to Zi Chen. His body flashed and the perfect energy in his body surged. He was like a god of war clad in golden armor. He used the perfect energy in his body to hold the 4 sword steelies in the air. Rays of light shot out from the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion. The leader was the Pavilion Master, Wang Qiong. Chapter 983. Zi Chen, it's you. It's really you, Zi Chen. When Wang Qiong and the others saw Zi Chen, who looked like a god of war, their faces were filled with disbelief. Zi Chen carried the 4 sword steelies and landed on the ground. The sword steelies smashed onto the ground, causing the earth to tremble. Zi Chen looked at the crowd with excitement in his eyes. Within a few miles, only the people from the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion were left. Everyone stepped forward and Linga jumped into Zi Chen's arms, which made Binga slightly unhappy. Zi Chen, you've broken through to the human origin realm and successfully left the ancient road, Wang Qiong asked. More or less. Zi Chen smiled. After not seeing each other for more than 100 years, everyone naturally had endless things to talk about. The others were cleaning up the battlefield. After the demon ape killed the human origin realm expert, it didn't attack the others. However, the loss of a human origin realm expert was a huge blow to the 5 elements forces. Pavilion Master Zi Chen, welcome back, Wu Liu and the rest said excitedly. Wu Liu, Hei Feng, Yi Lang, Zhong Tong and the rest were the founding members of the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion with Zi Chen. Zi Chen knew them and was very familiar with them. It's been hard on you all these years. Zi Chen patted everyone's shoulders. It's not hard. We've already treated this place as our home, everyone said in unison. Zi Chen nodded and looked into the distance. The people who were prepared to witness the destruction of the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion hadn't left yet. Their expressions were extremely complicated, especially those from the overlords. Zi Chen turned around and looked at the crowd. He said coldly, I'm sorry that you didn't get to enjoy the show. The Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion still exists. The surroundings were dead silent. The people from the overlords wanted to say something, but they didn't in the end. Without a human origin realm expert present, they didn't even have the right to speak to Zi Chen. How did the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion develop to this extent? It seems like everyone is looking forward to the destruction of the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion, the demon ape said. That's because the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion's current resources have already surpassed the sum of the 5 overlords. They're jealous. Moreover, they know that Zhong Haotian and Shangguan Yue have left. Coupled with the fact that the other forces are surrounding them, they think that they have a chance, LV Peng said coldly. With the spirit-devouring rats, the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion would naturally find the best resources. This was not only true in the Chaos Lands, but also in the ancient beast world. Ancient beasts were nurtured there. Naturally, there were other things as well. The spirit-devouring rats had discovered quite a few high-quality or veins there. The current heavenly barbarian pavilion could be said to be as rich as a nation. They had too many resources. Although they did not dare to say that they would nurture a human origin stage cultivator, they would have no problem nurturing a large number of core origin stage cultivators. Let's go back first, Wang Qiong said. Zichen nodded and the group entered the heavenly barbarian pavilion. In the distance, the others still did not leave. The overlord's expressions were extremely ugly. Faced with such a situation, they did not know what to say. Zichen has made it clear that he wants to break off relations with us. However, it's not certain whether it's a blessing or a curse. Although Zichen's combat power is strong, the enemies he has provoked are definitely not weak. One day, they might send an earthly origin stage expert. By then, no matter how strong Zichen is, it'll be useless, Wu family head said. When the others heard this, their expressions relaxed. They nodded and said, "Let's go." Now, these forces did not know how serious the consequences of breaking off relations with Zichen were. The group of forces dispersed. Only a core origin stage cultivator was stunned on the spot. I actually met Zichen and even spoke to him on the way. I even said that the heavenly barbarian pavilion was not good. However, I'm still alive. The group entered the heavenly barbarian pavilion. The cultivators in the pavilion had already known that Zichen had returned and were all present. When Zichen appeared, they shouted in unison, "Welcome back, Pavilion Master." Zichen waved his hand and said, "Everyone has worked hard all these years. The crisis of the heavenly barbarian pavilion is over. The celebration will last for 3 days." Cheers were heard all around. After that, Zichen and the others entered the heavenly barbarian pavilion. Those who could enter the pavilion were the main forces of the heavenly barbarian pavilion. Since they were the main forces, they were naturally friends. Zichen knew almost all of them, except for a few who he did not know. Therefore, Zichen introduced them to Binger. Binger had not reached the spirit origin stage and was naturally the weakest in the group. Everyone looked at her strangely. Obviously, they were guessing her relationship with Zichen. Zichen emphasized again, "Back then, Binger and her grandfather saved me when the devil ape and I were severely injured." The others were relieved and nodded. However, this time, Binger was unhappy. "Zichen, what's going on? How did you offend them?" Wang Qiong asked after chatting for a while. Before Zichen could speak, the devil ape said, "We didn't offend them. They were too greedy and wanted to steal Zichen's things." Wang Qiong asked again, "Then who are they? What kind of power do they have? Why are there so many human origin stage cultivators?" Zichen smiled bitterly. "They are one of the strongest forces in the Tianwu continent. There are many Hutian and earthly origin stage cultivators. As for whether there are heavenly origin stage cultivators, I'm not sure." Wang Qiong and the others' faces turned pale. Lu Peng said worriedly, "If we kill them today, will there be earthly origin stage cultivators looking for trouble?" The others were also worried. Zichen thought for a while and shook his head. "The possibility of earthly origin stage cultivators appearing is not high. As long as we can stop human origin stage cultivators, I think there should be no problem. Could it be that the things you have are only attractive to human origin stage cultivators and have no effect on earthly origin stage cultivators?" Wang Qiong asked again. Zichen said, "No, the things I have are attractive to all the big forces. Last time, I was heavily injured and almost died because I met an earthly origin stage cultivator. Then how can you be sure that they won't attack you a second time?" The others' faces changed again. "Because there is one thing that is even more attractive than the things I have. I think they won't give up on the big stuff for the small stuff." "What is it?" Zichen's eyes flashed and he said word by word, "Lightning. Divine. Palace. Lightning Divine Palace." Exclamations sounded again. Almost everyone knew about the legend of the Lightning Divine Palace. It was a place where people could become gods. In the current world, almost all cultivators had heard of the legend of the Lightning Divine Palace, but they had never seen it before. Is there really a lightning divine palace in this world? Wu Liu whispered. Zichen nodded and said, of course. I personally saw the lightning divine palace appear in front of me, so I don't think it's fake. Furthermore, I've seen it twice. Everyone in the palace was deeply shocked. Even Elder Gui was moved. Other people might not even see the lightning divine palace once in their lifetime, but Zichen had seen it twice. That wasn't the main point. The main point was that the lightning divine palace actually existed in this world. After that, Zichen described the scene of the lightning divine palace's appearance. Everyone was extremely shocked. At the same time, they also rejoiced for the two of them. They actually managed to survive the devastation of the boundless rule force. Zichen then talked about a few things about sky realm cultivators, as well as spiritual bodies. Hearing this, they all sighed and exclaimed that the Sky Martial continent was too big. If it's just defending against human origin stage cultivators, it shouldn't be a big problem. LV Peng said. You have a way. Everyone looked at LV Peng. Originally, I didn't have a way, but now that Zichen has returned, I think it shouldn't be a big problem. LV Peng said, Zichen is already in the human origin stage. His battle prowess is already very strong, and his strength is incomparably powerful. If we let him control the 9 sword steelies, we won't have to worry about others using sword formations to surround us. Speaking of the sword steelies, everyone's eyes were filled with reverence. The sword steelies were extremely powerful, and LV Peng could use them to kill a human origin stage cultivator. The people from the sword sect had come again, not for Zichen, but for the sword steelies. This was originally just a guess, but after seeing the last 4 sword steelies, everyone naturally understood. On each sword steely, there was a sword intent. These sword intents had already evolved to the extreme, representing a kind of extreme realm. There were fast, slow, heavy, light, and sharp, but no matter which one it was a kind of inheritance that had reached the extreme. Zichen already had a perfect body, so his knowledge was naturally extraordinary. After returning this time, he could tell that the sword steelies were the inheritance of Xiantian techniques. Only Xiantian realm cultivators could truly comprehend and obtain the inheritance. Of course, some talented people could also comprehend some of the sword intents and use them to create a set of sword arts. This was a true treasure, and its value was no less than the heavenly book. It could be used to cultivate a large number of powerful cultivators. The original method of using it was indeed a waste. After LV Peng explained, Zichen said, You mean, we should use the 9 extreme formation? You know about the 9 extreme formation? LV Peng was obviously surprised. He knew that Zichen knew about formations, but he didn't expect him to know about the 9 extreme formation as well. I know a little. Zichen said. Then it's easy. The sword steelies are extraordinary. You can use the 9 extreme formation to release the sword intents within. It won't be a problem for you to fight against a human origin stage cultivator. Plus, with the formation, you won't be afraid of being surrounded. LV Peng said. In this world, no one dared to say that they weren't afraid of being surrounded. Only formation masters dared to say that. In front of a formation master, 1 person and 100 people didn't mean much. Of course, there was a limit, and it wouldn't work if the limit was exceeded. But how many human origin stage cultivators could besiege Zichen? It couldn't be more than 100. Zichen was sure that the Earth origin stage cultivators wouldn't appear. He still had a long time, and during this time, Zichen decided to make the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion stronger. At the top of the hall, Zichen said, Pass down the order. The celebration will last for 3 days. After 3 days, everyone will move out and start collecting and searching for resources. Full force. Everyone looked at Zichen in confusion. That's right. The war is coming, and we don't have much time left. LV Peng, have you built the transportation formation to the barbarian land? Zichen looked at LV Peng and asked. LV Peng nodded and said, It's been built for a long time. Then do you think it's possible to establish a sect there? Of course it's possible. That's where the Wuji sect is located. And for some reason, the spiritual qi in the barbarian land is extremely dense. If that place is a good place to establish a sect, then the ruins are a holy place for cultivation. Chapter 984. Move back to the land of barbarians. Why? Asked Zichen. Everyone's face was filled with puzzlement. They had established a foothold in the Bedlam and were fully deserving of their title as the #1 power in the Bedlam. Moreover, they had many mineral veins and markets in the Bedlam. Their daily income was astronomical. It could be said that they were making a lot of money in the Bedlam. Why would they want to go back? It must be noted that the land of barbarians was extremely desolate. Even though the spiritual energy of heaven and earth had become very rich, mineral veins and the like were still very rare. Facing everyone's confusion, Zichen explained, "Soon, there will be a great battle. We need to return to the savage land and guard that place. We need to protect the savage land." Great war? What great war? Zichen had mentioned a great war, but no one knew what kind of war it was. Furthermore, he mentioned guarding the land of barbarians. It was evident that the scale of the war would not be small. The war between humans and demons. The alien races have invaded and they have already reached the ancient road. Zichen's words caused everyone's expression to change drastically. The invasion of the alien races and the war between humans and demons were obviously very important. I estimate that it will take them a long time to break through the ancient road. However, there are too many experts among the demon race. We have to make preparations as soon as possible. If the war between humans and demons breaks out, we will have to choose a region to guard. I believe it should be the land of barbarians, said Zichen. Everyone knew that the founders of the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion came from the land of barbarians. They had no objections to Zichen's suggestion. If they really had to guard the land of barbarians, they would naturally guard the land of barbarians because the people of the fringe were not worth guarding. LV Peng nodded and said, "All right, I agree. I will return to the land of barbarians and look for a place to establish our sect. However, there are some useful things in the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion that we can move over when the time comes." Zichen waved his hand and said, "There is no hurry. We have not seen each other for many years. Let's have a good gathering." After that, he looked at the people around him and said, "All the resources of the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion, as well as all the subordinates of the forces, will be celebrated for 3 days. After 3 days, everyone will work hard. Send out all the people you can and gather resources as quickly as possible." The crowd nodded again and dispersed. Linger accompanied Binger while Zichen went to Cauldron Spirit's residence. When Zichen saw Cauldron Spirit on the mountain peak, he stepped forward and greeted him. "Yes, you are back," Cauldron Spirit nodded. "Senior, we plan to move back, abolish the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion, and establish the Wuji sect," Zichen said directly. "Oh, did something happen?" Cauldron Spirit looked at Zichen in surprise. "Senior, why do you ask? If you didn't have any urgent matters to attend to, you could have gone back and established a everlasting sect on your own instead of moving the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion back. Relocating a sect is a huge undertaking. The manpower, material resources, and financial resources required would all be enormous. Moreover, you had to move back to such a rundown place. What else could it be other than trouble?" Cauldron Spirit groaned. Zichen was secretly impressed by Cauldron Spirit's shrewdness. He immediately told Cauldron Spirit about the invasion. Alien invasion, Cauldron Spirit's eyes glinted. "Do you have any suggestions, Senior?" Zichen asked modestly. Cauldron Spirit did not answer. Instead, he looked at Zichen. When he saw that Zichen had goosebumps, he grinned and said, "Kid, you are much better than I had imagined. Instead of thinking about how to protect yourself, you are thinking about how to protect the barbarian land. Just this responsibility alone is far greater than that little Wuji from back then." Seeing the puzzled look on Zichen's face, Cauldron Spirit explained, "That little Wuji was the one who caused the destruction of the Wuji sect. He was the sect master of the Wuji sect." "Senior, you must be joking. I am merely at the mortal origin realm. How can I be compared to the sect master of the Wuji sect?" Cauldron Spirit said, "Indeed, the two of you cannot be compared to each other because he is too selfish. He is not worthy of being compared to you. Cauldron Spirit's voice was cold and detached. It was obvious that he was still brooding over what happened back then. Senior, the Lightning Divine Temple has appeared again, Zi Chen said cautiously. A trace of ridicule flashed across Cauldron Spirit's eyes as he said, "That evil bastard has appeared again. The demonic race is invading again. Ha ha, chaos is upon us." The demonic race had invaded with numerous experts. Moreover, Zi Chen had personally fought against the demonic race on the ancient road. If an ordinary human cultivator were to fight against an ordinary demonic race, death would be the only outcome. In a one-on-one battle, the human race would be at a disadvantage. Naturally, Zi Chen did not care about the fate of the common people. All he cared about was protecting his own land. With a flash of brilliance in his hand, the mortal origin fruit appeared. He held the mortal origin fruit and said, "Senior, this is the mortal origin fruit. I wonder if Senior can refine some medicinal pellets that are on par with the mortal origin fruit." A trace of surprise flashed across Cauldron Spirit's face when he saw the mortal origin fruit. Obviously, he had seen it before. He took the mortal origin fruit and carefully observed it. After a short while, he shook his head and said, "This fruit contains the energy of the natural laws. I cannot refine something that is exactly the same as the mortal origin fruit." Zi Chen's eyes lit up upon hearing those words. He asked, "Then Senior means that you can refine something with the same effect as the mortal origin fruit?" Cauldron Spirit took a glance at Zi Chen and said, "The human origin realm is, after all, still within the realm of humans. At this realm, one can still consume medicinal pellets. The mortal origin fruit is a miraculous fruit that contains the energy of natural laws. This energy of natural laws is of great use to cultivators. Even if I have the ability to reach the human origin realm, not everyone needs the energy of natural laws. Everyone has some of the energy of natural laws in their body. Although I can't replicate the mortal origin fruit, I can still refine some mortal origin pellets. I can refine the mortal origin fruit." Zi Chen was very surprised by this result. However, he did not let his excitement get to his head. Instead, he asked, "There should be side effects, right?" Cauldron Spirit nodded and said, "Of course. If one is unable to reach the earthly origin realm for the rest of his life, and if one lacks the ability to comprehend nature, it will affect one's potential. To be exact, the probability of making another breakthrough is less than 50%. In Zi Chen's opinion, this side effect was not a big deal. After all, there were too many people in this world who were stuck at the mortal origin realm. As long as one could reach the mortal origin realm, they would be able to make another breakthrough for the rest of their lives. It was just like how Yukong was willing to reach the Dan origin realm and never make a breakthrough for the rest of his life. "May I know what materials and main ingredients are required to refine this mortal origin pill?" asked Zi Chen after putting away the mortal origin fruit. "Only one main ingredient is required, and that is the yuan core of a mortal origin realm expert. As for the other ingredients, they are relatively easy to find." Zi Chen had killed many mortal origin realm experts and possessed quite a number of yuan cores. When he heard that the yuan core was the yuan core, his face was immediately filled with astonishment. Cauldron Spirit looked at Zi Chen and said, "Not everyone can kill a mortal origin realm expert. Furthermore, as it is an act that defies the natural order, only 2 yuan cores can be successfully refined into a mortal origin pill. The success rate is less than 80%. In addition, the success rate of making a breakthrough after consuming the mortal origin pill is also less than 80%. After leaving behind some yuan cores, Zi Chen left the place. This time, he went straight to the mountain peak where the 9 sword steles were placed. The original sword steles were used by LV Peng as the cornerstone of the defensive formation. After Zi Chen returned and gathered all 9 sword steles, LV Peng removed the sword steles from the formation. LV Peng had been waiting there for a long time. Obviously, he was going to teach Zi Chen the 9 extremes formation. The 9 extremes formation represented the 9 extremes. It was the best way to control the 9 sword steles. Zi Chen walked to the center of the 9 sword steles. His perfect golden spiritual senses gushed out. Soon after, he formed hand seals and the 9 sword steelies began to vibrate. A strange look flashed across LV Peng's eyes. He said, "You know how to control them?" "I know a little." At first, Zichen was not familiar with the hand seals. As the 9 sword steelies were vibrating, Zichen was unable to control them smoothly. But as time passed, Zichen's hand seals became faster and faster and he became more proficient in controlling the sword steelies. Boom! Finally, with a loud tremor, the sword steelies rose from the ground. A sharp sword will surged out and swept through the entire heavenly barbarian pavilion. In the pavilion, many cultivators sensed the sword will and appeared one after another. They looked toward the mountain peak. Seeing that Zichen was familiar with the 9 extremes formation so quickly, LV Peng was shocked. On the sword steelies, the sword will surged and an oppressive aura spread. Zichen was quietly sensing the sword steelies. After a while, the powerful aura on the sword steelies retracted and the sword steelies slowly fell. Zichen opened his eyes. There was a flash of light in his eyes. This sword steelies are indeed good stuff. They are rare treasures. If I can successfully refine them, their power should be even stronger. LV Peng looked at Zichen and asked, "Do you have a way to refine them?" Zichen said, "I can try. There's no need to rush. We'll talk about it after the 3 days of the celebration." LV Peng smiled. The 3 days of the celebration would naturally start from tomorrow. However, tonight, LV Peng and the others still held a welcoming ceremony for Zichen. Wang Qiong returned the pavilion master Zichen's token to Zichen. During this period of time, Zichen refused, but everyone insisted that Zichen keep it. After that, Zichen sent a voice transmission to LV Peng, asking him to refine a similar token and give it to Wang Qiong. Of course, the name on the token was no longer Zichen, but Wang Qiong. During the banquet, everyone introduced some core members of the pavilion to Zichen. They were also veterans, but they were all strangers. They had only joined the heavenly barbarian pavilion in the past 100 years. Zichen, the real pavilion lord, had returned, so everyone naturally had to toast him. Even though Zichen had developed a good tolerance for alcohol on the ancient road, he couldn't hold up against so many people. Everyone drank 1 cup after another, and he soon drank too much. Ling the female Rakshasa, also drank until her face was red. In the end, she could not handle the alcohol and left the banquet. Bing on the other hand, kept Zichen company. After the banquet ended, Bing helped Zichen back to his room. However, when they were outside the room, Zichen sent Bing back. He had drunk too much and was afraid that he would not be able to control himself and harm this little girl. Bing pouted, stomped her feet, and left unhappily. Zichen pushed open the door and entered the room. However, the moment he entered, he smelled an extremely pleasant fragrance in the room. This fragrance seemed to have a fatal attraction. It actually made Zichen's heart beat faster. Zichen shook his dizzy head. After entering the room, he walked towards the bed. He was happy today and could indulge himself for a day without cultivating. The curtain beside the bed was drawn. After Zichen pulled it open, the fragrance became even stronger. He shook his head again. When he saw that there was nothing on the bed, he fell asleep. Chapter 985. Zichen, who was about to fall asleep, looked up and saw a delicate face in front of him. Her face was beautiful, and her eyes were like silk. Her beauty fell on Zichen's face, emitting a light fragrance. Ling Ling Zichen's voice was a little muffled. He was not awake yet. Zichen, I want you. Ling smiled. Her breath smelled like orchids. Her red lips moved towards Zichen. I am yours. Ling closed her eyes. Between their lips, there was something blocking them. Zichen was much more awake. Ling, what are you doing? Ling opened her eyes and saw the finger on her lips. She smiled mischievously and bit it. Zichen screamed. Most of the drunkenness in his body dissipated. Just as he was about to raise his body, he saw Ling-er's entire body on top of him. Zichen panicked and quickly used his hands to hold Ling-er's shoulders. Ling-er was wearing a translucent gauze dress. It was very soft and smooth. Zichen only felt his hands slip, and the gauze dress slipped off. Ling Er's shoulders were exposed. Her delicate collarbone, white and shiny skin, and the unique fragrance of a young girl made Zichen's mind ripple. The tip of his nose almost bled. Zichen wanted to push Ling Er away, but who knew that it looked more like he wanted to take off her clothes. Ling Er giggled. Zichen, you are so naughty. Call me master. I am your master. Zichen was already panicking. He wanted to put the gauze dress back on Ling Er, but he did not succeed after a few tries. The gauze dress was very slippery, and it kept touching Ling Er's skin. Zichen simply did not do it. His body leaned back, but then he felt something touch his chest through the gauze dress. I, Ling Er, don't have a master. I only have a big brother. Ling Er's body was completely on top of Zichen. Both of them were in a position where Ling Er was on top and Zichen was on the bottom. Both of their bodies were very close, and it was very ambiguous. Zichen's body glowed, and rays of golden light rushed out from his body. The drunkenness from before was instantly dispelled, and the delicate fragrance of the young girl in the room became even stronger. It was like a soul attack, constantly attacking Zichen's sea of consciousness, causing his body and mind to ripple as flames burned within him. Ling Er was not afraid of the golden light at all. Instead, she smiled even more happily. It's better to dispel the drunkenness. We are both in a sober state, and we will cherish each other more. In Zichen's eyes, Ling Er seemed to have turned into a demoness. At this moment, this demoness was baring her fangs at him. Boom! Zichen's aura went berserk again. However, the perfect power that had always been invincible seemed to have been greatly reduced today. It was actually ineffective against Ling Er. It's useless. Your wine has something I specially made for you. Do you remember this room? Back then, you were together with Sister Yu Er. At that time, I swore that I would be with you here. Ling Er's clothes, which were not much to begin with, were slipping down. Her seductive figure was completely exposed to Zichen. I am your master. Zichen emphasized again. He could not stand this kind of teasing. He simply closed his eyes, and the golden light around him entered a dormant state. What, my little Zichen, are you not going to resist? Ling Er pulled up a strand of hair and slid it past Zichen's nose. Then, she giggled. It's useless to resist. It's better to just enjoy it. Zichen had already discovered the strangeness in his spiritual sea. There was a strange energy here. It was not harmful, but it could easily cause him to hallucinate. His mind was filled with scenes of him being together with Shangguan Yu Er. Moreover, Zichen was a normal man. He really could not stand this kind of teasing. In addition, this energy was suppressing the power in his body, making him unable to concentrate and control it. He felt very weak. Little Zichen, when you become arrogant, my whole body will be yours. Hee hee. Ling Er smiled. Then, her whole body pressed tightly against Zichen. A pair of jade peaks were pressing against Zichen's chest. Zichen suddenly felt a sense of suffocation. He almost lost control of the strange energy. His reason told him to stay calm, but there seemed to be a demon living in the depths of his spiritual sea, telling him to conquer Ling Er. I don't care, so why do you care? Besides, I don't recognize you as my master. At most, I'm just a senior apprentice brother. It's normal for a senior apprentice brother to have a relationship with a junior apprentice sister. The demonic voice echoed in Zichen's spiritual sea. Zichen was in a trance. He could no longer distinguish between illusion and reality. That mysterious energy was making him fall. You are master and disciple. There are no feelings between you. You're just being impulsive now. What will happen in the future? What will happen to Ling Er's reputation? Zichen still had some reason left. Yu Er leaned over Zichen. Her red lips were close to his ear. She softly said, "Don't resist, don't struggle. Come, follow the steps in the depths of your heart. Besides, all your struggles are useless." Then, she stuck out her tongue and licked the tip of Zichen's ear. Zichen felt as if he had been electrocuted. He suddenly opened his eyes. There was a crazy flame in his eyes. Are you going to lose your mind? Come. Boom. A violent aura suddenly emerged from Zichen's body. This aura was extremely powerful. It was like a super strong hurricane. Linga let out a cry of surprise. Her whole body was sent flying. She crashed into 2 screens. You. Her clothes were untidy. Her skin was as smooth as jade. Her beautiful face was full of surprise. One had to know that she had tampered with Zichen's wine. Once, when Zichen was drunk, he had sex with Shangguan Yu'er without tampering. But today, he was sober after she tampered with his wine. Mitch, you're so mischievous. Get out. Zichen took a deep breath and said majestically. He was completely sober. Get out. Why should I go out? You seduced me. You asked me to come. Then I'll fulfill your wish. Linga made up her mind. Then, her whole body flashed. Like a boneless snake, she wrapped around Zichen. Golden light flashed in Zichen's hand. The golden light exploded in front of his eyes. A wave of energy spread in all directions. With a crackling sound, the jade in the room shattered. Linga was also forced to retreat. Hurry up and go back. I'll pretend nothing happened today, Zichen said with a sullen face. Nothing happened? How is that possible? My drunken dream immortal downpour is extremely rare. I don't believe you can hold on. Linga gritted her teeth and said, anyway, after you're poisoned, you'll have to give it to someone else. It's better to give it to me. With that, Linga stepped forward again. Nonsense. This is really nonsense. I'm your master. Golden energy flew out from Zichen's hand. This energy was full of tenacity. They rushed toward Ling-Er like little snakes. Facing the powerful Zichen, Ling-Er was naturally no match. The little golden snakes wrapped around her tightly. Let me go. Ling-Er struggled. Seeing that Zichen didn't react, Ling-Er stared and said, What, you don't like to be passive? Do you want to be active? Zichen pointed with his finger again, and Ling-Er's clothes were all rolled up. Then, one by one, they were placed on Ling-Er's body. Don't mess around anymore. With that, the golden light wrapped around Ling-Er and flew outside. A crackling sound came from Zichen's room. It had already alerted the others. They all rushed over and saw that the female Rakshasa was sent flying out by the energy. She fell to the ground. The female Rakshasa today was extremely beautiful and charming. However, they had been with her for a long time. Naturally, they knew that her temper was just like her appearance. She was very fiery. The female Rakshasa had never denied her feelings for Zichen. She almost always said that she would give her body to him. Everyone knew why she hadn't entered the ancient road. At this moment, seeing the female Rakshasa fly out with her clothes in disarray, they could roughly guess what had happened. They immediately blushed with shame. She was the first person who dared to use force on Zichen. She was indeed a female Rakshasa. After Linga got up, she glared at Zichen's room and said loudly, Zichen, just you wait. I'm not done with you. In the room, Zichen was silent. Around him, the others wanted to laugh. Obviously, they had already guessed that Zichen was having a headache. What are you all looking at? Have you never seen a beauty, or have you never seen a couple quarreling? Linga turned her head and shouted at the people around her. The people present naturally included Wang Qiong, the pavilion master, and the other senior figures. However, Linga obviously didn't care about them. Everyone looked at each other. They wanted to laugh, but they didn't dare. Holding it in, they silently turned around and left. That's really fierce, the devil ape said after they were far away. Immediately, it attracted a lot of laughter. Just you wait. Just you wait. Linga was still angry. Then, she glared at Zichen's room and said, Next time, I'll give you 10 times the dose. Let's see if you can still take it. The room was a mess. Zichen sat cross-legged on the bed. There was still the scent of Ling-Er's body on the bed. Zichen couldn't calm down, so he simply got off the bed and found a chair to sit on. After such a commotion, his drunkenness was completely gone. Sleeping was a luxury, but he couldn't calm down to cultivate. After a while, Zichen simply said, Forget it. I'll go cultivate the 9 extremes formation. Zichen left the room and went to the peak of the mountain dozens of miles away. This night was destined to be a sleepless night. Chen couldn't sleep and cultivated. The sword intent wreaked havoc in this area, and the powerful aura constantly surged. It was destined that the others wouldn't be able to rest well. Before dawn, the cultivators came out one by one and started to get busy. On one hand, they couldn't calm down because of the 3-day celebration. On the other hand, it was more because of the powerful aura and sword intent that occasionally wreaked havoc. While the entire Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion was in a festive mood, news of Chen's return had spread throughout the entire chaotic land. Chen, who had returned, was very powerful. His Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion had naturally become a superpower. However, the scene of the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion quickly restoring the market didn't happen. After 3 days of the celebration, the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion entered a busy state. The market was completely abandoned. All the cultivators went to the resource veins and started to speed up the mining. The female Rakshasa also brought people back to the ancient beast world as soon as possible. This time, she wasn't going to train, but to kill ancient beasts with all her might. After Chen's return, it seemed that everyone in the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion worked hard. However, some forces also noticed something unusual. Chapter 986. In the hall was the head of the Liu family, a late-stage primal core expert. Because they were attached to the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion, the Liu family had developed rapidly in the past few years, suppressing the Wang family. They were fully deserving of being the strongest power in the Savage Land. After the head of the Liu family arrived, he first congratulated Chen on his return. Then, he asked when the market would reopen. It had to be known that the Liu family had a huge business in the market now. Because of the agreement with the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion, they did not open branches in other markets. However, because of this, every day the market was closed, the Liu family's losses were immeasurable. "I don't plan to open the market anymore." Chen's reply shocked the head of the Liu family. He immediately asked, "Pavilion Master Chen, why are you doing this?" Chen looked at the head of the Liu family and said, "I'm only telling this to you. As for you, you have to make preparations as soon as possible while keeping this a secret." The head of the Liu family saw the seriousness in Chen's expression and nodded. The Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion is preparing to move back to the Savage Land and establish the Wuji sect. This is because there will be a huge war soon. This war will involve the entire Tianwu continent. The battle will be very fierce. Therefore, what we need to do now is to accumulate strength, not wealth. A war involving the Tianwu continent. The head of the Liu family was shocked. That's right. The invaders are the foreign tribes, and a great war may break out at any time. Now, the weapons refined by the Liu family can be kept for your own use, or you can sell them to the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion. However, you are not allowed to sell them to other forces. Furthermore, from now on, the weapons refined by the Liu family must be of high quality. Pavilion Master Chen, how true is this news? Asked the head of the Liu family. 100%. Good. I'll bring them back to the Savage Land now. Chen nodded. That's good too. Prepare early. When you leave, you can leave from here. After a while, the head of the Liu family left. Chen bringing the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion back would naturally have a huge impact on the Liu family. Furthermore, the title of the strongest power was destined to be revoked. However, in the face of the upcoming war, this title was useless. What the Liu family needed was not a title, but a rise. And this time, it was clearly the Liu family's opportunity. The news of the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion killing a mortal origin realm cultivator from the Overlord faction had spread throughout the ancient beast world. The fact that the Overlord faction did not dare to settle the score was enough to prove how powerful the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion was. The Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion had only risen to power for less than 200 years, but it had already trampled the Overlord forces under its feet. The speed of its rise was shocking. When the spirit-devouring rats had arrived at the ancient beast world, they had carefully explored this place and found many large mineral veins. As they were not in a hurry, the people of the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion were slowly mining. In addition, only Danyuan could enter this place, and Danyuan did not want to mine, so the progress was slow. However, After Zi Chen's return, a large number of Dan essences entered the world of ancient beasts. This time, even the pavilion master, Wang Qiong, had arrived. He personally oversaw the situation. A large number of Dan essences began to collect resources and mineral veins. Some of the more powerful Dan essences were in charge of killing ancient beasts. On the same day, the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion opened up 4 large mineral veins and killed countless ancient beasts. Every day, large amounts of resources were brought back to the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion and placed in the treasury. The Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion's actions puzzled the other factions. However, the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion's daily intake of resources made them jealous. However, with Zi Chen around, no one dared to do anything to the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion. On the 10th day, the peace agreement that Zi Chen had signed with the demon race was broken by the demon race. After that, the demon race in the wasteland attacked the humans in the land of chaos. This was a devastating blow to the cultivators in the land of chaos. When the battle began, the humans were forced to retreat. They were forced to retreat tens of thousands of miles, and many of them were injured or killed. Ling was leading a team to chase after a group of ancient beasts when she heard the battle cries from afar. "Let's go and take a look." Ling gestured for a late-stage primal core cultivator to go. After a while, the late-stage primal core cultivator returned and reported, "It's the demon race. They're attacking the other factions. Should we go and help?" Ling glanced at him and asked, "Help? Why?" The late-stage primal core cultivator was stunned and said, "Because we're all in the same camp." Ling said coldly, "We were in the same camp in the past, but not now. Let's wait until the demon race attacks the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion." Just as the demon race was attacking the humans, the tribe leader of the demon race's ape tribe, the primal core elder ape, entered the ancient beast world. After he arrived, he held the Dragonman tribe's token and gathered all the tribe leaders. When he saw all the tribe leaders arrive, he held the token and said, "You're not allowed to attack the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion. If you disobey, you'll be killed." The Dragonman's token had a strong deterrent effect on everyone. Even if they were confused, they did not dare to ask and could only obey. Hence, in the following battle, a strange scene occurred. The demon race would take a detour around the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion's properties. When they saw the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion's hunting team, they would also avoid them. The demon race did not attack the people from the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion, so the people from the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion naturally did not interfere. Now, their main task was to search for resources. During this period, the other factions that could not win formed an alliance and launched a counterattack against the demon race. Some of these people followed Zi Chen in the past and knew the tactics that Zi Chen used against the demon race. However, after they used it, they realized that it was completely ineffective. Without a strong general, they could not deal a heavy blow to the demon race. After a while, they suffered heavy losses. Helpless, dozens of factions gathered together and started to discuss countermeasures. "The demon race is determined to chase us out. Our counterattack is completely ineffective. We can only ask the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion for help. The previous incident has already made the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion disappointed. Will they help us? We're all humans. Furthermore, the demon race is attacking us now. After this, they will definitely deal with the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion. I think they can see this." Everyone was discussing, but other than asking the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion for help, there was no other choice. However, who in the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion to ask for help from was a big problem. Someone suggested, "Why don't we ask the female Rakshasa? She's extremely powerful and is not any weaker than Zi Chen in the past. As long as she's willing to lead us to attack the demon race, she'll definitely be the second Zi Chen to create a miracle. Go to the female Rakshasa. Are you crazy or thinking of committing suicide? She's indeed very powerful, but she's also very hot-tempered and bloodthirsty. She's a far cry from Zi Chen in the past. Instead of looking for her, why don't we look for pavilion leader Wang Qiong?" "That's right. Look for pavilion leader Wang Qiong. Old Wu, isn't Wu Yu from the Wu family engaged to pavilion leader Wang Qiong? If you look for him, he should give you some face. Wu Yu's father was a primordial core expert and had a high status in the family. After hearing this, he laughed bitterly and said, "I'm afraid I can't give him face because we haven't seen each other for decades. What's there to be afraid of? The relationship between father and daughter is deep. Even if we don't see each other, our hearts are connected." Wu Yu's father shook his head and said, "It's useless." The Wu family gave up on the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion previously, which is equivalent to giving up on Wu Yu. When both parties got married, there were elements of an alliance through marriage. However, what happened in the end made the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion and Wu Yu disappointed. Seeing that Wu Yu's father was unwilling to go, someone beside him said, "Brother Shangguan, the Shangguan family has an extraordinary relationship with Zi Chen. Why don't you go and talk to him? Shangguan Bing Shi is with Zhong Haotian and she's still living in the Shangguan family. Furthermore, Shangguan Yu and Zi Chen are husband and wife. Why don't you try looking for Zi Chen?" Shangguan Feixiong laughed bitterly as well. "I'm afraid there's no room for discussion. The Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion is in trouble. I tricked my daughter into coming back and she's been locked up ever since. Furthermore, Yu has already drawn a clear line with the Shangguan family. Now, the Shangguan family has nothing to do with the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion. What's the harm in trying? This is an opportunity. As long as we tell Zi Chen about our relationship, I'm sure he'll agree. This time, he's not only helping us but also the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion. Would he watch us get chased out and then the demon race chase them out?" This time, everyone was silent. However, for the sake of benefits, they still had to fight for it. Hence, the next day, Shangguan Feixiong left the ancient beast world and headed to the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion. As for Wu Yu's father, he went to look for Wang Qiong. From afar, he saw Wang Qiong controlling a purple gold gourd. The purple gold gourd was as big as a mountain. It was upside down in the air, and an illusory light shone from the mouth of the gourd. This illusory light shrouded an area of a few miles below. Following Wang Qiong's shout, a strong suction force came from the mouth of the gourd. Under this suction force, the mineral vein below began to shake. It was as if a giant was lifting it up. The entire mineral vein, along with the ground, was lifted up inch by inch. He was going to absorb the entire mineral vein. This scene stunned Wu Yu's father. Rumbling sounds continued. After about 2 hours, the mineral vein was completely absorbed by the purple gold gourd. Wang Qiong looked at the deep pit that was dozens of miles wide and shouted, "Clean up the surroundings. If you find a mineral vein, take it away. We'll go to the next one." After many years of development, the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion had many elixir realm cultivators. However, there were even more flying realm and true energy realm cultivators. There were hundreds of thousands of them. Hence, it would be faster to take the entire mineral vein and mine it outside. Wu Yu's father saw Wang Qiong, but they didn't speak. Wang Qiong was very busy. He didn't even have time to rest. After using up his origin energy, he immediately swallowed pills to recover. Then, he collected mineral veins one after another. At the same time, Ling was holding a golden storage bangle. This was the one that Zi Chen had obtained from an origin realm cultivator from the Jin family. The space inside was huge and could store living things. Now, Ling wasn't just hunting ancient beasts. She was collecting large amounts of living ancient beasts so that she could raise them in the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion in the future. It was troublesome to dissect them after killing them, but it was too easy to capture them alive. She would go forward, knock them out, and collect them. This wanton collection continued for 3 months. After 3 months, the people from the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion voluntarily left the ancient beast world. Chapter 987. The Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion had retreated back to the land of chaos. This was a huge blow to the other forces. They had hoped that the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion would start a fight with the demon race to protect themselves. They had not expected the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion to retreat. This was very different from how the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion used to do things. If the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion retreated, they would not be able to defeat the demon race. This meant that the ancient beast world would belong to the demon race. The other forces were not willing to accept this. Therefore, they gathered again to discuss and prepared to go to the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion to persuade Zi Chen. This time, the candidate was Shangguan Feixiong. It was worth mentioning that the last time Shangguan Feixiong went, he did not even get to see Zi Chen before he was chased out. If I go alone, the result will be the same. I won't even get to see Zi Chen, Shangguan Feixiong said directly. Then why don't you bring Shangguan Bingxi with you? Zi Chen might not give you face, but he should give her face, someone suggested. Once upon a time, they were the hegemonic powers. Everyone had to give them face. But now, they had to give face to others. They had to give face to others. That won't do. This concerns the entire land of chaos. It's not something the two of us can talk about. Moreover, even if I agree, what if you go back on your words? I'll say it again. If you want to go, we'll go together, Shangguan Feixiong insisted. Since it involved their own interests, everyone had no choice but to go together. Zi Chen was no longer the same as before. They might not even have the right to see him, let alone the other people in the tribe. Everyone who came this time had the right to talk to him. Before they came, they had already decided that they had to protect the ancient beast world even if they had to lose some benefits. However, just as they reached the border of the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion, they were stopped by a group of patrolling cultivators. Stop. This is the territory of the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion. Outsiders are not allowed to enter, the leader of the group said coldly. The Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion used to be kind and never bullied others. However, things did not end well for them. More people wanted the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion to be destroyed. After Zi Chen returned, the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion changed drastically. They became aggressive and arrogant. In addition to closing the city square and the teleportation array, no other cultivators were allowed to enter his territory. Are you blind? Can't you see who's here? Outsiders, look. Isn't Shangguan Feixiong an outsider? His Zhong Haotian's father-in-law, and his favorite niece is Zi Chen's wife. Why aren't you moving out of the way? The Dan Yuan from the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion stepped forward. They did not have as many people as the other party, but they were not afraid at all. The leader, Dan Yuan, looked coldly at the crowd in front of him and pointed at the boundary below. He said coldly, "Whoever dares to cross the line will be killed without mercy." You. The expressions of the others changed. When had the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion ever been so domineering? Immediately, one of the family heads said in dissatisfaction, "Who do you think you are? How dare you speak to us like that? Call your sect leader out." A mocking look flashed across the late-stage primal core realm cultivator's face. "You think you're qualified to meet the sect master?" The attitude of the other party made the family heads extremely uncomfortable. The Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion, which had been polite for so many years, now had a very domineering attitude. "Friend, it's like this. We're here to discuss important matters with Pavilion leader Zi Chen. Can you make an exception?" Shangguan Feixiong asked with a smile. Pavilion leader Zi Chen is in seclusion and is not seeing anyone. Go back. Dan Yuan's attitude was very clear. He was not going to let them pass. Although the family heads were angry, they did not dare to use force in front of the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion, who had shed all pretense of cordiality. Helplessly, the group could only return. We were polite and nice to you at first, but all of you are looking forward to our deaths. You really think that we won't dare to be domineering and won't be domineering?" Dan Yuan looked at the back of the group with a mocking look in his eyes. When the group returned to the nearest city square, they were all filled with righteous indignation. Originally, the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion was like a docile wolf king that others could touch however they wanted. Everyone was already used to this wolf king that did not have a temper. Suddenly, the wolf king bared its fangs at them. While they were not used to it, they were even more furious. "This is too much. A mere primordial core realm cultivator dares to speak to us like this. Hateful, infuriating." After venting their anger, they still had to think of a way to see Zi Chen. The only way was to bring Shangguan Bingxi along. Helplessly, Shangguan Feixiong could only go back personally and bring Shangguan Bingxi along. The next morning, at the same place, Dan Yuan met the family heads. He sneered and said coldly, "Outsiders are not allowed to enter the territory of the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion. If anyone dares to step forward, they will be killed without mercy." All the family heads were fuming with anger. One of them pointed at Dan Yuan's nose and said loudly, "Are you blind? Can't you see who this is? Are you going to tell me that she's not from the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion?" Dan Yuan saw Shangguan Bingshi. At this moment, Shangguan Bingshi looked very haggard. The group of Dan Yuan cupped their fists and bowed to Shangguan Bingshi. "Miss Bingshi is back. Let's go back quickly." Dan Yuan changed his cold attitude. Shangguan Bingshi nodded and walked away. Behind Shangguan Bingshi, the other family heads also walked forward arrogantly. However, before they could take 2 steps forward, they were stopped by an elixir weapon. "Miss Bingshi is from the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion. She can enter, but you can't. Those who enter will die and those who leave will live." Dan Yuan's expression became cold again. The other family heads were even angrier. One of them shouted, "His Shangguan Bingshi's father. Even he can't enter." Dan Yuan sneered, "We only recognize Miss Bingshi. We don't recognize anyone else, not even the Shangguan family head." The family heads were furious, but there was nothing they could do. They could only hope that Shangguan Bingshi could persuade Zi Chen. When Shangguan Bingshi returned, she saw Zi Chen standing outside the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion's formation. He seemed to be waiting for her. "How is it? Did you suffer?" Zi Chen asked. He already knew about Shangguan Bingshi. Shangguan Bingshi shook her head. "It's good that you're fine. Go back and rest for a few days. Zhong Haotian will be worried if he sees you like this. When I came back, I saw him on the ancient road. He's fine. Don't worry." Indeed, when Zhong Haotian was mentioned, Shangguan Bingshi's eyes lit up again. She nodded and turned to walk forward. Suddenly, she stopped. She wanted to say something, but she didn't in the end. Zi Chen said, "Go back and rest. I'll take care of this." Shangguan Bingshi nodded again and entered the pavilion. At this moment, all the cultivators in the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion's territory were busy. They were dissecting the mineral veins that Wang Qiong had brought back from the ancient beast world. After they were all dug up, their speed was much faster. Clang! Clang! Almost the entire Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion's territory was heard. This was an extremely huge project. All of the cultivators were working without rest or sleep, and there was no lack of senior elders among them. Wherever Zi Chen passed by, quite a few core origin cultivators would nod and greet him. There were many who didn't know Zi Chen. After learning about Zi Chen's identity, their eyes were filled with admiration and fanaticism. Zi Chen reached the border alone and saw Shangguan Feixiong and the others. Originally, he needed to call Shangguan Feixiong Sr. when he saw him, but today, he didn't need to. This wasn't because Zi Chen's strength had increased, but because Zi Chen was completely disappointed in Shangguan Feixiong. "Pavilion Lord Zi Chen." The group cupped their fists at Zi Chen. Zi Chen nodded and said to the Dan Yuans, "Okay, you can go back to work." The Dan Yuans nodded and left. Then, Zi Chen looked at the family heads and said indifferently, "What's the matter?" Zi Chen's voice was calm. There weren't many emotional fluctuations, but everyone felt great pressure. They didn't know what to say. After looking at each other, everyone's gaze landed on Shangguan Feixiong. Shangguan Feixiong apologized to Zi Chen again and said, "Pavilion Lord Zi Chen, we would like to ask about the ancient beast world." Zi Chen didn't wait for Shangguan Feixiong to finish and said indifferently, "The Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion has retreated to the ancient beast world. From now on, no one from the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion is allowed to step into the ancient beast world. Anyone who disobeys will be killed without mercy." The other family heads' expressions changed. Shangguan Feixiong asked, "Why?" Zi Chen sneered, "This is the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion's development strategy. At the same time, we want to leave some resources for you so that you won't covet our resources every day." Everyone's expressions became awkward. How could they still ask the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion to send troops to suppress the demon race? They could only leave angrily. However, Before they left, Zichen's voice sounded in Shangguan Feixiong's and Wu Yu's father's ears. If you are in a life or death situation, you can come to the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion. They were naturally unhappy that Zichen didn't help, but they didn't dare to do anything. The Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion was like a wolf with its fangs out. It was full of offensive and destructive power. Compared to when it was docile, it was even more disliked. However, no one dared to provoke it. Looking at everyone's backs, Zichen muttered, "If I can't get everyone to acknowledge me and be grateful to me, then I'll just be myself and only myself." Without the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion, the other forces fell even faster. Soon, they were chased out of the ancient beast world. At this point, there was only the demon race left in the ancient beast world. In the entire chaotic land, all the forces and Dan Origin Realm experts blamed themselves and regretted it. In the past, they felt that their gains were too little and envied the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion's gains. However, now that the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion had left, they didn't gain anything at all. In the territory of the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion, everyone was working hard to mine the mineral veins. LV Peng returned through the teleportation formation after leaving for 3 months. Zichen, I've found the place and renovated it. Come with me to take a look, LV Peng said. Zichen waved his hand and said, I don't know anything about this, so I won't be going. It's all up to you. Once the arrangements are made, the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion can move. Furthermore, the move will be under your command. LV Peng nodded and stepped into the teleportation formation again. He returned after 2 months. We can move now, LV Peng said after returning. The pavilion protection formation was activated and LV Peng gathered a group of experts. Zichen was the leader. LV Peng pointed at the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion and said, we need to move this pavilion and the mountain. Also, we need to uproot the 4 mountain peaks on the 4 sides so that the formation won't be damaged. Chapter 988. 2 months after the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion left the ancient beast world, the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion made another shocking move, puzzling all the factions in the Bedlam land. What is the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion doing? Those large mineral veins have not been fully exploited, yet they are leaving. Did they find new mineral veins? The Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion abandoned some of the large mineral veins in the outer regions of the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion. There were no primordial core realm experts, not even true energy realm miners. The people of the major forces entered the mine to investigate and found that the mine was almost completely excavated, but not completely excavated. The remaining resources here were enough to make some small forces go crazy. The middle forces were tempted, and even the major forces would not easily give up. The Bedlam land was huge and there were many mineral veins that had not been exploited. After being chased out of the ancient beast world by the demon race, these factions were all looking for mineral veins. Now that the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion had suddenly left, it aroused suspicion. Did the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion find some large mineral veins and do not want these resources? Someone agreed with this guess. The Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion was always lucky. They had stayed here for 10,000 years and did not find any mineral veins, but the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion had found them. Moreover, the place where the pavilion was built was a rare treasure land. It was said that it was a land of dragons. I don't know what kind of luck the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion has. They got all the good stuff, a family leader said angrily. Someone walked into the hall and whispered in Shangguan Feixiong's ear. Shangguan Feixiong's expression changed. They were in the market that had been destroyed and rebuilt many years ago. What happened? Someone asked when they saw Shangguan Feixiong's expression. The Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion's influence has shrunk once again. This time, a total of 5 ore veins have been emptied. 4 of them are similar to this one, but there is still 1 ore vein that hasn't even been mined by half. What? Everyone's expression changed. The Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion did not even want the primordial stone mineral veins. What are they doing? Everyone wanted to know the answer, but no one had an answer. At that moment, the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion had been uprooted along with the mountain below it and kept by the purple gold gourd. Rumbling sounds could be heard continuously as the earth quaked and the mountains shook. After the Heavenly Barbarian Hall, Zi Chen began to collect the other mountains around him, such as the Treasure Pavilion and the Heritage Hall. While Zi Chen was collecting these items, groups of cultivators from the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion were led by Dan Yuan and entered the pavilion. Most of them were true Energy Realm miners. They belonged to the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion, but they had never entered the pavilion before. Now that they had arrived, curiosity was written all over their faces. "Stop looking. Follow me," the leader, Dan Yuan, shouted. Then, he led his subordinates, who were all at the true element boundary, to an open space a few miles away. There was a huge transmission array there that led directly to the barbarian land. "You guys lead your men to the barbarian lands first. We'll be there shortly," LV Peng said to Wild Wolf and the others. Everyone nodded. Then, they led their men into the transmission array. Rays of light flashed and the figures of the cultivators disappeared one after another. There were only 3 decent forces in the barbarian lands. They were Liu, Wang, and Qin. Although Zi Chen had cut off all dealings with the Qin family, the Qin family had made a name for themselves in the barbarian lands with their extraordinary alchemy skills. Compared to the past, the Qin family was much more low-key now. Other than being intimidated by Zi Chen, the main reason was that the Qin family could only be ranked 3rd in the barbarian lands. On this day, the cultivators who were investigating the ruins suddenly felt the earth tremble. Then, they looked up and saw a blinding light flashing in the depths of the ruins. This light was extremely bright. It shot straight into the sky and did not dissipate for a long time. Ultimate treasure. A ultimate treasure has appeared. Hurry back to the family and report. A group of cultivators exclaimed and hurriedly reported the news. Soon, some Dan Yuan experts heard the news and arrived outside the ruins. After so many years of development and the appearance of the calamity avoidance pill, the barbarian lands had completely changed. There were many Dan Yuan experts. When they saw the light in the depths of the ruins, their faces were filled with excitement. Then, they went deeper into the ruins. After hundreds of years of exploration, almost every family had at least one path that led to the depths of the ruins. When they reached the depths of the ruins, they found that the depths had changed greatly. As far as the eye could see, there was an empty area. On the ground, there was a stone soil that was emitting light. Clearly, there was a formation operating here. The originally dilapidated ruins had long since disappeared. This place was empty and neat. At a glance, this empty area occupied hundreds of miles. The rich spiritual chi of heaven and earth emitted colorful lights that floated in the sky. The light was at the center of this empty area. The light did not dissipate for a long time. It was not the appearance of an ultimate treasure. Instead, it was a huge transmission array. At this moment, the transmission array was flashing continuously. Groups of cultivators appeared one after another. These cultivators were of different realms. They ranged from True Essence to Dan Yuan. After they appeared, they left the transmission array and arrived at the empty area. What's going on? The Dan Yuan experts of the various forces looked at the Dan Yuan experts of the Liu family who had arrived first. Zi Chen wants to rebuild the Wuji sect, an elder of the Liu family said. What? Rebuild the Wuji sect? Zi Chen is back. Everyone exclaimed. The news of Zi Chen's return had not spread in the barbarian lands yet. Why did he bring so many people to rebuild the Wuji sect? The Wang family expert asked. The elder said, the former Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion moved back and changed its name to the Wuji sect. When the Wuji sect was established, the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion disappeared. When everyone heard this, they sighed. Moving the entire sect was obviously a big move, a really big move. More and more cultivators came out of the transmission array. There were already more than 10,000 of them, and the number of Dan Yuan experts had already exceeded 100. They stood neatly on the empty ground like soldiers waiting to be inspected. In the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion, Zi Chen had already put away the Inheritance Hall and the Treasure Pavilion, as well as the other 2 mountains. LV Peng nodded and said, it's done. Just use these mountains as the foundation. At this moment, in addition to groups of cultivators, there was also a large group of Dan Yuan experts following Zi Chen. LV Peng said to them, Go and take away all the halls and pavilions that can be taken away, so that we don't have to rebuild them when the time comes." The group of Dan Yuan experts nodded and then went to the mountains. Most of the buildings in the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion were built on the mountains, and more than 90% of the mountains here had been cut off at the waist. Wu Liu flew over from afar and said, "We've successfully evacuated 12 mineral veins. The others are still being mined and will be evacuated gradually." Zichen said, "Tell everyone to speed up." Wu Liu nodded and then retreated to the side. Zichen scanned the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion and asked, "What should we do with this place?" LV Peng said, "There's only one teleportation formation left here. It's to be used at critical moments. Once we've completely moved, the formation here will be fully activated and connect with all the underground spirit veins, forming an impassable zone." The number of cultivators in the ruins was close to 100,000. Such a large number shocked the local forces. At this moment, a light flashed again, and Zichen and the rest appeared. "Zichen, it's really him. He's really back." Everyone saw Zichen at a glance. After Zichen appeared, he looked around. LV Peng explained, "This place has been flattened with a formation. After a few days, the ground will completely turn into flat mountain rocks. What we need to do now is to use these mountains as the formation foundation. In the future, the expansion of the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion will be centered on these mountains." After that, LV Peng gave Zichen pointers on where to place the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion's main hall and the other mountains. This was extremely precise. Zichen released the mountains according to LV Peng's instructions. Seeing the towering mountains falling from Zichen's small gourd, the local forces cultivators in the distance were completely stunned. Loud rumbling sounds could be heard continuously as the mountains fell. The main hall was on the mountain peak, and it was surrounded by rainbow-colored spiritual energy clouds. It was like a fairyland. LV Peng was in charge of the reconstruction this time. He said to the primordial core cultivators, "Take the elixir weapons and move outside with this empty space as the center. Wherever you go, all the formations will be destroyed and the formation foundation will be shattered." The primordial core cultivators nodded and then started to move outside, destroying the original remnants of the formations. If all the people in the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion were to migrate back, there would be hundreds of thousands of people. Naturally, a place that was only a few hundred miles wide would not be able to accommodate everyone. Therefore, after the main building was built, they started to expand until they occupied more than half of the ruins. During this time, LV Peng had already sketched out a blueprint in his mind. It included the area where the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion would be built. As it was a sect, an extremely formal sect, LV Peng had arranged for the inner sect, outer sect, and servants. If one wanted to become an inner sect disciple, one had to be at the primordial core realm. The outer sect disciple was at the flight realm, while the servants were at the vital essence realm. As for the servants, they did not have any servants yet. However, after the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion was built, they would recruit servants from the barbarian lands. These servants were all mortals with the potential to cultivate. The Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion provided them with resources to cultivate. Once they had a breakthrough in their abilities, they would be promoted and become servants or enter the outer sect. This was a simple idea in LV Peng's mind. They needed to build areas for these people to live in. As for the specific division of ranks and duties, they would need to communicate with Zichen and the rest in detail after the construction was completed. According to the blueprint that LV Peng had sketched out, all the cultivators were busy. They were busy without sleep or rest. During this time, LV Peng led some cultivators who knew about formations to rebuild the sect's protective formation. Zichen also returned to the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion several times to collect a few more mountains without affecting the power of the great formation of the Land of Despair. Hundreds of thousands of people were busy. Finally, after half a year, the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion was successfully built. The forces of the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion in the Land of Chaos also completely withdrew from the Land of Chaos. In the clouds, the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion sat at the top. It was like a celestial pavilion. However, The words Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion had been changed to Wuji Pavilion. Chapter 989. Zi Chen stood on the 9th floor of the palace and looked down at the entire Wuji sect. As far as the eye could see, there were rows of neatly arranged buildings that stretched for thousands of kilometers with the everlasting palace at the center. The entire everlasting sect was divided into several regions. There was the residence of the senior elders, the inner sect, and the outer sect. Everyone in the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion had retreated. There were hundreds of thousands of members in the Wuji sect now. Even the weakest cultivator was in the true energy realm. Sect leader, everything is ready. It's time to open the sect. Wu Liu walked up the stairs and stood behind Zi Chen. The Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion had changed its name to the Wuji sect. Zi Chen had successfully become the sect leader. The Wuji sect didn't invite other forces to the opening ceremony. Zi Chen followed Wu Liu down the stairs and left the main peak. They walked to a huge square. This was a martial arts arena. A 100-meter-tall platform was built in the middle of the square. Zi Chen stood on the platform. Beside him were the demon ape and Wang Qiong. Behind him were Wu Liu, He Feng, and the others. Below the platform was a group of cultivators from the Wuji sect. They were led by a group of core essence cultivators. Their realms were ranked from the late stage to the early stage. Then, they were in the air. Behind them were the true energy realm cultivators. Hundreds of thousands of people stood together. They were so densely packed that one couldn't see the end of them. From today onwards, the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion will no longer exist. We will face the world with another identity, and that is the Wuji sect. Zi Chen looked around and said coldly, "Today, the Wuji sect is officially established. Greetings, sect leader." The cultivators of the Wuji sect bowed to Zi Chen. Zi Chen waved his hand and signaled for everyone to stand up. He said loudly, "From today onwards, the most important thing for all of you is to cultivate. Try your best to increase your strength as quickly as possible. I promise that all cultivators who have reached a bottleneck can apply for resources to break through the bottleneck. There's no limit to the resources." Below, hundreds of thousands of cultivators were excited when they heard this. They shouted sect leader again. "All right. Next, I'll announce the personnel appointments," Zi Chen said loudly. The hundreds of thousands of people immediately fell silent. Even the sound of breathing could not be heard. Elder Gui will still be the Grand Elder of the Wuji sect. He will enjoy the same treatment and authority as the sect leader. As soon as Zi Chen finished speaking, a beam of light flashed on the stage and Elder Gui appeared. A black and white token appeared in Zi Chen's hand. This was the Elder's token. After Elder Gui took it, the crowd below started to shout, "Great Elder." Old Gui nodded in acknowledgement. He didn't stay for long and disappeared in a flash. Wang Qiong will be appointed as the vice-sect leader. He will have the same authority as the sect leader. Zi Chen took out another token. The token was still black and white, but it was a unique sect master token. Its effect was similar to that of the Supreme Elder token. The Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion had been established for close to 200 years. Zi Chen had spent less than a quarter of his time in the pavilion. The rest of the time, he had been led by Wang Qiong. When Zi Chen had been in the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion, he had only represented a powerful deterrent and a belief. The ones who had truly brought the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion to prosperity were Wang Qiong and the rest. Hence, Wang Qiong enjoyed the same authority as the sect leader. No one had any objections. This was also the result that everyone wanted to see. Wang Qiong stepped forward to receive the token and enjoyed the attention of the crowd. Everyone shouted in unison, "Deputy Sect Leader. Appoint LV Peng as an elder. He will be given an elder's token and a mountain peak. He will be in charge of the array masters of the Wuji sect." Zi Chen's voice rang out again. The Wuji sect was mostly flat land. There were very few mountain peaks. Zi Chen had moved them over from the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion. On each mountain, there were people who had contributed greatly to the Wuji sect. LV Peng was the #1 array master in the Wuji sect. Over the years, he had nurtured many array masters with great potential. When the war started, the array masters would play the most important role. Zichen needed such a strong team. Therefore, he asked LV Peng to form his own faction in the Wuji sect and let him choose from all the geniuses. Appoint Wild Wolf as an elder. He will be given an elder's token and a mountain peak. He will be in charge of the ancient beasts of the Wuji sect. Wild Wolf was originally an ordinary wild beast. However, he had broken through to the primal core realm. Regardless of whether it was his talent or his opportunities, he was extraordinary. It was best to let him take care of the ancient beasts that were still alive. Appoint Black Wind as an elder. He will be given an elder's token. Appoint Zhong Tong as an elder. He will be given an elder's token. Appoint. Zichen appointed 5 more elders in one go. However, it was only a position. He did not give them any mountain peaks. Appoint Qin Xing as an elder. He will be given an elder's token and a mountain peak. He will be in charge of the Wuji sect's alchemists. Appoint Qin He as an elder. He will be given an elder's token and will be in charge of the treasury. Appoint Ling as an elder. Today, Zichen appointed more than 20 elders at the opening ceremony. These people had followed Zichen for a long time. After many years, almost all of them had broken through to the later stage of the primal core realm. Not only were they elders, but they were also extremely powerful existences in the heavenly barbarian pavilion. After everyone was appointed, some observant people realized that Wu Liu was not assigned a position. It had to be known that Wu Liu had been at the heavenly barbarian pavilion's beck and call all these years. Indeed, when it came to the last one, Zichen mentioned Wu Liu. Appoint Wu Liu as a steward. He will be in charge of all matters of the Wuji sect. He will be given a steward's token. His position will be second only to the sect leader. An uproar broke out in the crowd. Everyone was very surprised by this appointment. When Wu Liu heard this, he was even more stunned. It had to be known that the current Wuji sect was fully formed. There were hundreds of thousands of cultivators in the sect. However, he had been assigned a steward. This position sounded like a steward, but his position was second only to the sect leader. This meant that among the hundreds of thousands of people in the Wuji sect, Wu Liu's position was second only to Zichen, Wang Qiong, and Elder Gui. He was definitely above the hundreds of thousands of people. When he thought about Wu Liufeng, who had thousands of people, and then looked at the hundreds of thousands of people in the Wuji sect, Wu Liu was excited. He also sighed that he had made the right bet back then. Zichen's appointment ended here. As the sect leader, he had nothing to do with appointing the elders. The following appointments would be made by the elders. LV Peng raised the token in his hand and said loudly, "Formation masters, follow me." As he finished speaking, rays of light flashed from the crowd below. These were all formation masters, and they left with LV Peng. "Alchemy masters, follow me," Qin Xing also shouted with the token in his hand. A few more people left the crowd, but there were even more people who did not leave. The following appointment and selection was a truly complicated process. However, they were the same as Zichen. After appointing a few leaders, they became hands-off managers. Next, these people would appoint others. This appointment was somewhat hasty, but after a period of adjustment, everything would be better. This appointment ceremony lasted for 2 days and 2 nights. After 2 days and 2 nights, there were no more cultivators here. Everyone had been assigned. The entire Wuji sect began to operate. However, with hundreds of thousands of people together, it obviously needed a period of adjustment. In the Wuji palace, except for Gui Lao, everyone gathered again. Zichen sat at the head of the table. "You guys prepare well. In 7 days, we will begin to recruit servants. If you encounter someone with high potential, you can directly take him as a disciple. In order to establish a sect, in addition to experts, more servants and fresh blood were needed. Back in the chaotic lands, fresh blood was the endless stream of true energy boundary and Zephyr realm cultivators. However, in the barbarian lands, this fresh blood was the talented mortals. Everyone nodded. They were also full of anticipation for the recruitment in 7 days. The barbarian lands had undergone earth-shattering changes. The spiritual qi here had become extremely rich, so much so that it had surpassed the chaotic lands. Therefore, among the mortals born in these years, there were indeed many talented ones. Occasionally, there would be a shocking talent. During the selection, except for the Xiantian realm cultivators, LV Peng will pick the disciples with potential first. After LV Peng, it will be Qin Xing, and then you guys. LV Peng and Qin Xing were happy when they heard this, but the others were somewhat disappointed. Zichen waved his hand and threw out pieces of golden jade slips. The golden jade slips landed in everyone's hands. Zichen said seriously, "Remember the cultivation method here. This cultivation method can only be used a few times. Remember, it is not to be taught to non-direct disciples." The golden jade slips recorded the perfect cultivation method. As core realm cultivators, everyone had extraordinary knowledge. As they probed it with their spiritual senses, their expressions changed instantly. Suddenly, a voice came from outside the palace. Then, Zephyr Realm Cultivator walked in. "Greetings, Sect Master, Vice Sect Master, and all the elders." Zephyr Realm Cultivator bowed respectfully. "There is something." Zichen looked at Zephyr Realm Cultivator. "Sect Master, there is someone outside looking for Vice Sect Master." "Looking for Vice Sect Master? Who is it?" Zichen was puzzled. There was a second of hesitation on Zephyr Realm Cultivator's face. Then, he said, "It is a woman and a young man. They said they are the Vice Sect Master's wife and son." Wife and son? Zichen was stunned. Then, he looked at Wang Qiong and asked, "You have a son?" No one was surprised except for him and the devil ape. Obviously, everyone knew about it. Wang Qiong nodded. "Why haven't I seen him before? Why haven't I heard you mention him?" Zichen asked. Wang Qiong said, "He was brought to the Wang family the moment he was born. I have seen him a few times, but I haven't seen him for 7 or 8 years. Why didn't you let him stay in the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion?" Zichen asked again. Wang Qiong smiled and said, "I'm afraid he is too proud. After staying in the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion for too long, he has no ambition." "What do you mean no ambition?" "The Vice Sect Master is afraid that his son will compete with your son for the position of Sect Master in the future, so he let him return to the Wang family," Linger said from below. Zichen was stunned when he heard this. He did not think in this direction. First, he did not have a son. Second, he was brothers with Wang Qiong. This was the first time he heard that Wang Qiong had a son. He was overjoyed. How could he think of anything else? The others did not have any expression on their faces. Obviously, they all knew about this. Wang Qiong said, "Linger, don't talk nonsense." Zichen waved his hand and said seriously, "The Wuji sect does not belong to me, Zichen. It belongs to everyone. The sect master's inheritance is for the virtuous and capable, not for a single person. In the future, whoever is capable will be the sect master." Chapter 990. Eternal Weapon City, Liu Family. The Everlasting Sect's first stop to recruit workers was this place. This was set when the Everlasting Sect was founded. The Liu family had spread the news early on. This time, Yongqi City's gates were wide open, and everyone could enter the city. Moreover, after the grand opening ceremony, LV Peng and Qin Xing arranged for their subordinates to fly and Dan Yuan to search for mortals with good aptitudes in the entire region. In just 7 days, Eternal Weapon City was packed with people. Most of them were mortals. Even though they knew the Boundless Sect was recruiting odd-job workers, they still wanted to send their children here. Everyone knew that the Everlasting Sect valued talent, not family background. That was why the people waiting to be tested were all very polite and didn't try to pressure others. That was because no one could be sure that a beggar you looked down on might actually be a true disciple. 7 days later, the experts of the Boundless Sect arrived. Leading them was the current sect master of the Boundless Sect, Zichen. Zichen's name had long since become a legend in the uncivilized lands. There were countless stories about him. After hearing that Zichen had arrived, the crowd immediately became restless. Cries of surprise rang out continuously. Some people even hoped that Sect Master Zichen would take a liking to their children. Even if they didn't dare to say they were true disciples, just the status of a nominal disciple would be enough to bring glory to their ancestors and never have to worry about anything. Sect Master Zi Chen. The people of the Liu family hurried forward to greet him with a humble attitude. Zi Chen nodded in response. The arrangements below have already been made. Sect Master Zi Chen, please follow me. The people of the Liu family led Zi Chen's group to a stone platform. There was a row of seats neatly arranged on the platform. Everyone sat down. Zi Chen sat in the middle, LV Peng and the others sat to the side, and the people of the Liu family sat to the side. All right, let's begin, Zi Chen said indifferently. The people of the Liu family nodded, then gestured for everyone to hurry forward. The first one to step forward was a child of about 8 years old. At such a young age, he had already embarked on the path of cultivation. There was a hint of pride between his brows as he took a few steps forward and placed his small hand on a crystal ball in front of Zi Chen. The crystal ball immediately emitted light. He had played this kind of trick countless times at home. He even knew what kind of light it was. The crystal ball glowed, and he looked up at Zi Chen. Only then did a hint of nervousness appear on his face. Zi Chen nodded indifferently. Nodding his head meant that he had passed. The young man should have been happy, but not only was there no happiness on his face, there was instead a lot of disappointment. Zi Chen, who was just about to nod, suddenly glanced at the young man and said indifferently, "You didn't pass." Next. The sudden change caused everyone to look at Zi Chen in confusion. As for the young man in front of them, he stood there in a daze, not knowing what to do. At this moment, the crystal balls in front of LV Peng and the others were also emitting light. Each one of them was a youth with potential. Zi Chen swept his gaze over the crowd and said indifferently, "Those who have embarked on the path of cultivation, please step forward. Today, we are only accepting ordinary mortals." Zi Chen's actions completely stunned the Liu family. It had to be said that this matter had been arranged by them, so for the sake of convenience, they had arranged for all of the youths with potential to be in front of Zi Chen, LV Peng, and the others. Their goal wasn't purely to enter the boundless sect, but to become disciples of these people and become direct disciples. But they hadn't expected that Zi Chen would disqualify the others as soon as he tested the first one. It had to be said that LV Peng and Qin Xing had clearly been moved by this. Clearly, they had found someone they liked. But when they saw that Zi Chen had no intention of continuing to explain, they could only tactfully shut their mouths. After the Liu family waved their hands, dozens of youths at the front of the line left in disappointment. "Uncle, their potential isn't bad. Why did you give them up?" A young voice came from behind Zi Chen. This was a youth around 15 or 16 years old. He had delicate features and a heroic aura. Unfortunately, the hairs at the corners of his mouth hadn't yet faded, making him look slightly immature. He was Wang Qiong's son, Wang Weiyu. It was said that this name had been given to him by Wu Yu, meaning that Wang Qiong was afraid of Wu Yu. Zi Chen treated Wang Weiyu extremely well. Although Zi Chen didn't have any children, everyone could sense that Zi Chen treated Wang Weiyu even better than his own children. At this moment, no one dared to ask. Only Wang Weiyu wasn't afraid. Zi Chen rubbed Wang Weiyu's head and smiled. Potential doesn't represent everything. Ah, if potential doesn't represent everything, then what does? Wang Weiyu didn't understand. You'll understand in the future. Zi Chen's potential could only be described as ordinary, but he had his current accomplishments. As long as he had enough resources, even someone with a slight spirit root could be nurtured into a Xiantian cultivator by Zi Chen. Potential could only represent your starting point. It couldn't determine your entire life. Zi Chen was recruiting people here to provide them with an opportunity. Whether they could soar to the heavens or not depended on whether they could be mediocre. In Zi Chen's eyes, potential didn't represent anything, but attitude did. When the Liu family member saw Zi Chen nod, he was extremely disappointed that he hadn't been able to become Zi Chen's direct disciple. He wasn't happy that he had entered the everlasting sect. He felt that his talent was high enough to enter the everlasting sect. If he entered the everlasting sect with this kind of attitude, he would feel that the everlasting sect would provide him with all the resources in the future. He wouldn't feel grateful to the everlasting sect, and he might even resent the everlasting sect for their unfair distribution of resources in the future. Zichen wouldn't recruit such a person, no matter how high his potential was. Moreover, in the Wuji sect, there were too many people with high potential in terms of elixir essence and flight speed. The Liu family member seemed to understand Zichen's meaning, and he secretly regretted that he hadn't explained things properly. This was just a guess Zichen had made after seeing the other party's expression. It couldn't be 100% correct, but Zichen's thoughts would determine everything. In front of Zichen, the crystal ball lit up again, but the light wasn't very bright. It was much dimmer than before. It could be said that this person had potential, but not high. Under the other party's expectant gaze, Zichen nodded. Pass. The youth was extremely excited, almost jumping up and down in excitement. His family members, who were watching from afar, were also extremely happy. Among the mortals who came this time, there were many disciples with potential. Over 500 people were recruited on the same day. Some had good aptitudes, and some had bad aptitudes. However, Zichen would accept any mortal who could make the crystal ball glow. As for how far they would go in the future, that would depend on them. That night, the Liu family members came to the inn to find Zichen. Evidently, they were here to discuss the matter of the youths. Zichen said, they've already embarked on the path of cultivation. They started early and have a high starting point, so it's not suitable for them to hang around with mortals who have never cultivated before. This will make them feel superior, which will make the mortals feel inferior. After this, I will give you some quotas. You can send them directly to the everlasting sect. Zichen had left some quotas for the Liu family, but the Liu family members weren't happy. After all, these people would be branded as members of the Liu family. Perhaps they would be given good resources, but they would never be able to come into contact with the core of the everlasting sect, and they would never be able to become core members of the everlasting sect. Damn it! The Liu family members were furious, but they were also very regretful. They hadn't expected that the cause of all this was a youth. That youth had the highest potential in the Liu family, and he was usually spoiled. They hadn't expected that he would cause such a disaster today. The next day, the recruitment continued, and it lasted for 7 days. During these 7 days, Lu Peng and the others didn't find anyone with high potential who could be accepted as a true disciple. However, there were quite a few who had potential, so the overall harvest was great. On the 8th day, the recruitment in Eternal Weapon City had come to an end. Next, they would go to the other large cities, where the other forces had already made their preparations. Just as Zichen and the others were preparing to leave, a figure ran over from afar. It was a 5 or 6-year-old boy. His clothes were tattered, his body was thin, and he even had a long nose. He seemed to have run over from a very far place. Although he was thin and bony, he was sweating profusely. Are you still recruiting? He took a deep breath and sniffed the snot into his nose. Looking at Zichen and the others who were about to leave, he asked nervously. On his dirty little face, there was hope and fear, but his eyes were firm. Everyone looked at each other and shook their heads. In fact, there was no need for a test. They only needed to use their spiritual sense to sense the little guy's potential. He had almost no potential at all. Seeing everyone shake their heads, the little guy's eyes were filled with unwillingness and stubbornness. He took another deep breath and asked, "Can I try?" The others wanted to say something, but a light flashed in front of Zichen, and he said, "Come, you can try." Everyone looked at Zichen in surprise. They had already seen that the little guy had no potential, so Zichen should be able to see it too. The little guy stepped forward, but he didn't take the test. Instead, he bowed to Zichen and said, "Thank you. Come, try." The little guy took a deep breath and placed his hand on the crystal ball. Everyone stared at the crystal ball. Even though they already knew the result, they still wanted to see it. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths. There was no reaction from the crystal ball, not even a little bit of light. Sighs came from all around, and the young man's firm eyes wavered. Suddenly, the crystal ball released a dazzling light. The light was as dazzling as the sun. Seeing the dazzling light, everyone was stunned. How is this possible? They couldn't understand how the little guy with no potential could make the crystal ball release such a dazzling light. The little guy stared blankly at the glowing crystal ball in front of him. The wavering eyes became firm again. Good, good, good. Chen said good 3 times. With such potential, it can be said to be superior. Are you willing to take me as your master? Lu Peng and the others turned their heads and looked at Chen with a strange look in their eyes. The little guy was also stunned by the sudden happiness. He was stunned and didn't answer immediately. However, under the exclamations from all around, he quickly reacted. He took 2 steps back and kowtowed. Disciple Chen Feng greets master. Envious gazes came from all around. Obviously, such a good thing fell on this slug. Chen said happily, your potential is very high. I will teach you a cultivation technique that is suitable for you. However, I want you to improve twice as fast as others. Otherwise, I will take back the cultivation technique and abolish your cultivation. Master, don't worry. Disciple will work hard and not disappoint master. Chen Feng kowtowed again. Chen pointed at the space between his eyebrows, and a cultivation technique appeared in his sea of consciousness. After returning to the sect, I will provide you with resources. You don't need to do anything else. You just need to cultivate. However, I will let you see your progress. Yes. Although Chen Feng felt that this cultivation technique was strange, he still nodded. After that, Chen turned his head and said, I have already recruited a disciple, so I won't go anywhere else. You all can go. Ling Chen Feng will be your junior brother from now on. Take good care of him, but don't help him while he is cultivating. Got it. Ling dragged her voice out. After that, everyone left with Chen Feng. As for the other children who passed, they were brought back to the everlasting sect. Chapter 991. The Lightning Dominion had an extremely special meaning to Chen. The first time he avoided being hunted down, he relied on the Lightning Dominion. After that, the lightning in the Lightning Dominion became his trump card again and again, and he used this lightning to resolve danger time and time again. To Chen, the Lightning Dominion was a lucky place. Legend has it that the Lightning Dominion was formed after a corner of the Lightning Divine Temple collapsed. Now that the Lightning Divine Temple had reappeared in the world, Chen had to go to the Lightning Dominion to take a look. He had to find out what exactly that corner of the Lightning Divine Temple was. The lightning in the Lightning Dominion was still rumbling. Chen's perfect spiritual sense couldn't detect anything abnormal in the outside world. Now that the Lightning Dominion was no longer effective against him, his figure flashed and entered the Lightning Dominion. His figure flashed again, and he had already reached the 9th level of the Lightning Dominion. Without the lightning mark between his eyebrows, Chen could enter the 9th level of the Lightning Dominion with his own strength. In the 9 levels of the Lightning Dominion, the lightning energy was still divided into different levels. Each level was stronger than the previous one. Lightning crystals floated above the 9 levels of the Lightning Dominion. The big ones were as big as a fist, and the small ones were as big as walnuts. These lightning crystals were no longer attractive to Chen, but they were still rare materials for refining. As he extended his spiritual sense, the surrounding lightning crystals gathered towards Chen. After collecting these lightning crystals, the golden mark between Chen's eyebrows reappeared. He felt pressure from this level and didn't dare to be careless. Sure enough, when the mark appeared, the pressure on Chen decreased greatly, but there was still an oppressive aura. Clearly, in the depths of the Lightning Dominion, there was still lightning that could threaten Chen. Chen began to go deeper, and soon reached the place where he obtained the Lightning Spirit Crystal Soul. He then took a step forward. This was the 2nd level of the Lightning Dominion, and the power of the lightning was 1 level higher. Lightning roared, but it circled around Chen. After Chen entered the 2nd level, he saw many thunder crystals, but he did not see any thunder soul crystal bodies. Chen continued to go deeper, and after a few hundred meters, he reached the 3rd level. As soon as he reached the 3rd level, Chen saw a piece of thunder spirit crystal essence. This thunder spirit crystal essence was not a thunder dragon, but a unicorn. A piece of thunder spirit crystal essence could be refined into a peerless powerful weapon. With Chen's current strength, he could definitely refine a peak-level powerful weapon. One had to know that the limit of a human was the human level. Beyond the human level, one had completely broken away from the concept of a human. However, before Zichen could keep this lightning spirit crystal soul, he heard a loud and clear dragon roar resound in this world. A glaring silver light cut through the space of the lightning region and charged towards the lightning spirit crystal soul. Ding! Then, there was a crisp sound that overshadowed the thousands of thunder and lightning. A silver spear directly pierced a hole in the lightning spirit crystal soul. The dragon soul mark on the spear was constantly glowing, and there was a dragon's power spreading out. In the lightning spirit crystal soul, the soul was changing. Sometimes it turned into lightning, sometimes it turned into a strange beast, as if it was struggling. Under the perception of spiritual sense, Zichen saw that the soul in the lightning spirit crystal soul was being devoured by the dragon soul spear. As expected of a human-level spiritual weapon, it can sense and devour on its own. Looking at the dragon soul spear, Zichen sighed. It was a pity to lose a piece of lightning spirit crystal soul, but compared to the dragon soul spear, it was nothing. It took the dragon soul spear a quarter of an hour to completely devour the lightning spirit crystal soul. The dragon soul spear turned into a ray of light and flew back. The previous lightning spirit crystal soul had lost its soul and became a pure thunder crystal. After advancing for about 10 meters, Zichen found another piece of lightning spirit crystal soul, but this time, the dragon soul spear did not devour it on its own. It was still a lightning spirit crystal soul that could turn into a strange beast. There were still many lightning crystals floating in the surroundings. Zichen took all of them without hesitation. In the entire barbarian lands and the Bedlam lands, it seemed that only Zichen could enter this place. Therefore, the things here had not been touched by others, and he could take them as he wished. After that, it was the 4th level, the 5th level. When Zichen's harvest was not small, he gradually felt the pressure. When he reached the 6th level, Zichen felt that he had reached his limit. He could at most advance another level, or else his life would be in danger. No, I have to go deeper. Zichen paused at the 6th level for a while, then adjusted himself and stepped into the 7th level. This lightning territory was extremely special. Since Zichen could feel that it was extraordinary, others could naturally feel it as well. Until now, no experts had stepped into this place. Firstly, there were no experts in this area, and secondly, no one in the outside world knew that there was a lightning territory that was related to the Lightning Divine Palace. If they knew, there would definitely be a large number of experts coming here. Even Earth Yuan experts might be tempted to come here. Just as Zichen stepped into the 7th level lightning territory, he felt a terrifying pressure descend. This pressure was extremely frightening. Even with Zichen's perfect body, he could not withstand it. His body swayed and he almost fell down. In this level 1 thunder territory, there were even more thunder crystals floating in the sky, densely packed. In addition, there were also many thunder soul crystal souls. These thunder soul crystal souls were very large in size, and they faintly emitted a fierce aura. Along the way, Zichen's experience was extraordinary. He had seen almost all of the heavenly treasures. However, when he saw the lightning crystals and lightning spirit crystal souls in front of him, he was still a little stunned. This was because there were simply too many of these things. They could totally be called a treasure trove. Zichen raised his foot and stepped forward. Just as he took another step, the pressure around him increased once again. Zichen's bones emitted cracking sounds, as if they were about to break under the high pressure. This lightning territory is indeed frightening. If a mortal Yuan realm expert without a perfect body came here, they would definitely be unable to move and would be exhausted to death here. Zichen sighed. However, he was not worried. The lightning mark between his eyebrows emitted a bright light, forming a golden light barrier that protected Zichen in the middle. Zichen pushed the lightning mark to the limit. As expected, he felt the pressure lessen a little. However, it was only a little, and it was enough for Zichen to move. At this level, Zichen's perfect spiritual sense was also suppressed, and he could not extend it. Therefore, Zichen could only use the purple gold gourd to collect the lightning crystals and lightning spirit crystal souls. The purple gold gourd was left behind by Butcher. Its material was extremely extraordinary. Even when Zi Chen reached the mortal Yuan realm, he did not fully understand it. It was considered an incredible treasure. Zi Chen moved forward with difficulty. His bones constantly emitted cracking sounds. He endured the pressure and collected everything around him. After Zi Chen collected everything in the 7th level lightning territory, Zi Chen felt his entire body collapse. At this moment, he was in the middle of the lightning territory, surrounded by extremely terrifying lightning. He could not even use his divine ability to automatically recover. He could only take out high-grade Yuan liquefied origin liquid to recover his energy. By the time Zi Chen fully recovered, he would be at the edge of the 7th level. At this point, Zi Chen took a deep breath. However, he did not immediately step in. The 7th level lightning territory was already unbearable to him. The 8th level was naturally even stronger. If he rashly entered, he would definitely encounter danger. After a 3-second pause, his spiritual sense moved. In the next moment, there was a rumbling sound around Zi Chen. 9 tall stone steles appeared around Zi Chen. They stood side by side, forming a circle that protected Zi Chen in the middle. These were sword steles powered by the 9 extremes array. At this moment, they formed a defense. Within the lightning territory, a resonant sword intent was emitted. Sword light flashed one after another. The sword light formed a defense, blocking the lightning pressure for Zi Chen. The pressure on Zi Chen was greatly relieved. Entering the 8th level lightning territory was no longer a problem. Although he had a premonition that the lightning in the 8th level lightning territory would be even more terrifying, when Zi Chen personally experienced it, his complexion immediately changed. Under the constant devastation of the lightning, in addition to the terrifying pressure, Zi Chen's 9 extremes array was nearly broken apart. Zi Chen focused his mind. His hands formed a seal, and a golden light gushed out from his fingers, falling onto the 9 sword steles. A moment later, the sword steles stabilized. But what was worth mentioning was that the sword steles didn't show any signs of damage when facing the bombardment of lightning. The sturdiness of their materials was beyond imagination. After completely stabilizing the sword steles, Zi Chen had time to look around. With a glance, he didn't see any thunder crystals or thunder soul crystal souls. However, he did see thunder liquid falling down like raindrops. This was the exact same thunder liquid essence as he had seen on the ancient road. At this time, what appeared in front of Zi Chen was a vast expanse of thunder liquid essence, just like dense raindrops. Zi Chen's mouth dropped open and his eyes widened. His eyes were wide with disbelief and shock. Before, the thunder crystals and thunder soul crystal souls hadn't caused Zi Chen to have such an expression. But as he saw this thunder liquid essence, Zi Chen was completely shocked. When Zi Chen saw the thunder crystals and thunder soul crystal souls, he thought that LV Peng and the others were each holding a human-grade weapon. But now, what appeared in front of Zi Chen was a large group of Xiantian realm martial artists. Thunder liquid essence could create a Xiantian realm martial artist. Zi Chen had personally experienced this. And he still had some thunder liquid essence on him that he hadn't had the time to give to LV Peng and the others. It was just that this thunder liquid essence was extremely limited and could only help a limited number of people break through. However, the amount of thunder liquid essence in front of him caused Zi Chen's expression to change. There were far too many of them. This place really is a treasure trove, a true treasure trove. Whether or not my everlasting sect will be able to rise and become one of the top powers on the martial heaven continent will all depend on this thunder liquid essence. Zi Chen repeatedly sighed in admiration. This thunder liquid essence could create so many Xiantian realm martial artists. It could be considered an amazing treasure trove. The current Zi Chen had an inheritance, resources, and powerful soldiers. It could be said that he had gathered all the resources needed for the everlasting sect to rise. Although the current everlasting sect couldn't compare to the everlasting sect of the past, the resources it possessed were not something an ordinary power could compare to. Right now, what the everlasting sect lacked was an Earth Yuan expert that could rank at the top of the martial heaven continent. Zi Chen controlled the sword stele to approach the thunder liquid essence. Then, he carefully put it away. Zi Chen could already foresee a scene where a large number of Xiantian realm martial artists appeared in the everlasting sect. It took Zi Chen a full 2 hours to collect all the thunder liquid essence. During that time, he even rested. Controlling the sword steely had consumed a great deal of his energy. After putting away the thunder liquid essence, Zi Chen adjusted the sword steely once more to enter the next level. 9 represented the limit. Zi Chen concluded that this was the final level. At the same time, he was filled with anticipation to see what this level would hold. Could it be a sea of thunder liquid essence or a pile of thunder soul crystal souls? Chapter 992. An unimaginable force sent Zi Chen flying. A hole appeared in the 9 extremes array, and a huge pressure came in through the hole, wreaking havoc on Zi Chen. Puff! Zi Chen coughed out blood as he flew back dozens of meters. A sword steely fell in the distance, and the other 8 sword steelies joined together to form a defense for Zi Chen. What is that? Zi Chen stood up, wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, his face full of surprise. He had encountered an attack, but he didn't know what it was. After standing up, Zi Chen formed another seal, and another sword steely flew out and returned to its place. The 9 sword steelies merged into one again. The attack just now wasn't scary. Zi Chen was in such a sorry state because he was too careless. He was focused on the pressure, and didn't think of an external attack. After pondering for a moment, he decided to go forward again. The 9 sword steelies formed a defense, constantly revolving around Zi Chen. Zi Chen went forward again, and when he reached the edge of the 9 extremes array, he raised his vigilance and stepped in. As soon as he stepped in, before Zi Chen could see what was around him, the strong force appeared again. The defense formed by the sword steelies only trembled slightly, and the force fell on Zi Chen, and then attacked Zi Chen. Zi Chen still didn't see anything clearly, and his whole body flew out. However, because he was fully prepared this time, he wasn't in such a sorry state. In the process of flying back, he was still able to control the sword steelies to block the thunder and lightning. This time, Zi Chen retreated more than 10 meters with the sword steelies. His expression was even more uncertain. After being attacked twice, he actually didn't see what was attacking him. However, he wasn't injured this time, so Zi Chen wasn't afraid. Instead, he was curious. Just as he was about to enter for the 3rd time, a cold and old voice came from the 9 extremes array, scram. If you dare to come forward again, die. The voice was old and cold, and filled with endless killing intent, causing Zi Chen's face to change again. Why is there someone here? This was Zi Chen's first reaction. Then, Zi Chen guessed that this should be the place where some expert went into seclusion. But who would be in seclusion here? Furthermore, there were many resources placed outside. Zi Chen's face was full of confusion. His expression kept changing, but he didn't take another step forward. In the 9th grade Thunder Dominion, the old voice did not appear. Zi Chen stood there in a daze for a full 15 minutes. During that time, his expression flickered with various emotions. In the end, he made up his mind to continue onward. He hesitated for a moment before taking 2 steps forward. This old man will warn you one more time. If you dare to step forward again, you will die. The old voice sounded again. But Zi Chen didn't care at all. His steps were firm and steady, 1 step at a time until he reached the edge of the 9th grade Thunder territory. You little brat, how dare you not put me in your eyes? Just wait for me, Thunder Freya's anger. During this time, the old voice sounded out once more. It seemed that the existence within the 9th grade Thunder Dominion was already flustered and exasperated. The old man didn't immediately launch an attack. Zi Chen concluded that there should be some sort of situation that caused him to only be able to attack at the 9th grade. But, whether or not it was as the old man said, that he was strong enough to easily kill him, that still required Zi Chen to personally verify it. However, the old man's first 2 silent attacks were clearly sneak attacks. The first time, he had nearly killed him. The old man was an old man, and if he was willing to do such a dishonorable sneak attack, then his true strength couldn't be as great as he claimed. Or perhaps he was an injured person and was currently recuperating. But, there was also the possibility that the old man was strong enough to kill Zi Chen in a single strike. There were all sorts of guesses, but all of them required Chen to personally experience. Standing outside the 9th grade Thunder territory, the old man's threatening words were still ringing in his ears. The lightning mark between Chen's eyebrows emitted an even brighter light, forming an even more dazzling light shield. At the same time, Chen pushed the 9 extremes array to its limit. The 9 sword steelies continuously emitted sword cries and released sword chi. They were like 9 rays of light that revolved around Chen. Before entering this time, Chen had made 120% of his preparations. After he stepped in, his eyes were glued to the front. A power that could topple mountains and overturn seas appeared once more, sweeping towards Chen. But this time, not only did Chen open his eyes wide, but he also spread out his spiritual sense. He wanted to see just what was attacking him. The first thing Chen saw was a flash of light. It was a flash of lightning that was extremely dazzling. This flash of lightning was like flowing water, striking towards Chen. However, it landed on the 9 sword steelies first. The 9 sword steelies were currently spinning rapidly. As they spun, they were also dispelling this huge force. The lightning and flowing water were forcibly dispersed, and the strong force was neutralized. However, there was still a force that passed through the sword steelies and rushed towards Chen. But this time, when the strong force landed on Chen, it turned into a pushing force, pushing Chen towards someone in front of him. Under this pushing force, Chen retreated and left the 9th grade array. At this moment, his eyes were wide open, and his expression was one of shock. He finally saw what it was that had attacked him. However, when he saw what it was, his expression was filled with disbelief. "It's lightning liquid essence," Chen murmured, as if he was moaning. The lightning and flowing water that attacked him just now was lightning liquid essence gathered together. Every drop of this thing was worth a lot, but it had actually gathered into flowing water here. How extravagant was this? Just as Chen was in shock, the old voice sounded again, "This is a lesson for you. If you dare to step forward again, you will die." Chen completely ignored the voice. His mind was filled with thoughts of how much lightning liquid essence was there. 1,000, definitely more than that. 10,000, most likely more than that. Chen's mind was once again shaken. 100,000. Without personally counting, no one could be sure. Putting aside what was in the 9th grade lightning domain, just the lightning liquid alone was enough for Chen to risk his life for. Even if 100 drops of lightning liquid essence were enough to nurture a Xiantian warrior, a conservative estimate would be that there were 30,000 drops of lightning liquid essence. That was 300 Xiantian warriors. Just the lightning liquid alone was enough to nurture 300 Xiantian warriors. In addition to the mortal restoration pellets refined by the cauldron spirit, the everlasting sect would have 300 Xiantian warriors in the mortal origin realm within a few years. Let's do it. Chen's eyes flickered. He was even more tempted. This time, he wasn't injured and didn't need to adjust. He once again stepped forward. After entering the 9th grade lightning domain, the lightning liquid reappeared and struck at Chen like a wave. Seeing the lightning, the corner of Chen's mouth twitched. How extravagant! The rapidly spinning sword steely blocked more than 80% of the energy. The remaining 20% entered Chen's body and was dispersed by the energy tide formed by the perfect body. The lightning liquid no longer had the slightest bit of energy and turned back into liquid. However, it returned. Chen's original goal was to get it. Naturally, he couldn't let it escape. He took out the purple gold gourd and pointed the mouth of the gourd at the liquid. An illusory radiance passed through the sword steely and landed on the liquid. Following Chen's command, the lightning liquid was enveloped by the illusory radiance. In the next moment, all of it was retrieved. Not a single drop was wasted. This time, he had collected more than 10,000 drops of lightning liquid essence. A smile appeared on Chen's face. Forget it, forget it. Since a junior like you is here for this external object, I'll give it to you. The aged voice sounded again. Then, Chen saw a large amount of lightning appear in front of him. It was more lightning liquid essence rushing towards him. However, The lightning liquid essence carried unparalleled power. The old fellow was definitely not as good as he claimed. This power was extremely powerful. Ordinary people couldn't withstand it. 9 extremes, swift, turn. Chen wasn't blinded by greed. When he saw the lightning liquid essence, he formed seals even faster. Golden energy passed through Chen's fingers and landed on the sword steely. Hum. On the sword steely, a continuous sword hum began to resound. Then, one after another, sword chi rushed out. These sword chi were extremely sharp. They were like divine weapons that slashed towards the lightning liquid in front of them. The energy clashed in the lightning field. Sword beams rushed out from the sword steely one after another. However, it was as if they had hit an iron wall. Clanging sounds rang out. In the blink of an eye, dozens of sword beams slashed out. These sword beams were enough to kill a human origin realm cultivator, but they only cut off some of the lightning liquid essence. The lightning liquid sturdiness was beyond Chen's imagination. A trace of surprise immediately appeared on his face. 9 extremes, 8 extremes, open. Chen shouted. His hands formed seals again. Suddenly, one of the 9 rotating sword steelies left. The other 8 formed a defense again. Chen attached his spiritual sense to the 9th sword steely. Then, he used his spiritual sense to control the sword steely and hit the lightning liquid. Boom! The sword steely carried a tremendous force. It smashed into the lightning liquid with a loud boom. The lightning liquid's momentum was instantly stopped. The sword steely also shook in the air. Chen shouted again, attack again. The sword steely suddenly expanded like a towering stone wall. It carried an even more powerful aura and smashed into the lightning liquid. The sword steely hit the lightning liquid again and again. In this collision, not only was the lightning liquid unable to move forward, but its sturdy form was also slowly dispersed. During this time, the lightning liquid also increased its strength a few times. However, it was all smashed back by the huge and powerful sword steely. At this moment, the sharp sword beams lost their effect. The sword steely's impact played a decisive role. After smashing dozens of times, Chen felt a sense of exhaustion. Finally, he smashed open the lightning liquid. With a splash, the liquid lightning dispersed and scattered on the ground like sparkling and translucent pearls. Because of this, a strange cry rang out from the depths of the level 9 world. Without waiting for the lightning liquid essence to reform, Chen picked up the purple gold gourd and began to collect it. Under the illusory light, half of the lightning liquid essence was collected by Chen. However, the other half still managed to escape. After collecting the lightning liquid essence, the 9 sword steelies returned to their original positions. Chen stepped forward again. This time, Chen didn't encounter any attacks from the lightning liquid. Even the old voice from before had disappeared. Chen smoothly reached the center of the level 9 thunder territory. This was indeed the end.